Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Groyper Report. Tonight, we have some groundbreaking news to share with you.
Welcome to the Groyper Report. Introducing the most racist men alive. They are shutting it down as we speak. Welcome to the Groyper Report. Sexist. Racist. Phobic this, phobic that. Terrorizing women across the country. Telling them to wear clothes. Saying all women are mid. Minorities fear them. The president has them on speed dial.
Guess what? Your body, my choice.
Brought to you by Frog Laura Maxing. Brought to you by Frog. GigaChat Central, yes, thank you for asking. They all must go. Welcome to the one and only. Defending the last white men on Earth. AtlasThugged and Josh Van Der Nord. This is the Groyper Report.
Hello and welcome in to another edition of the Groyper Report, brought to you by myself, and joining me is my co-host. Man, there's so many things on my screen right now. Joining me, my co-host,
chubby Jared Kushner, reporting for duty as always. Josh Van Der Nord, too.
And we are happy. We are the one network not afraid to say Christ is King, but we are proud to present the 21st edition of the Groyper Report. And we are here to talk about everything America First and NJF. And not that big of a week, I would say, compared to previous weeks that we've had so far, but still some stuff to get into. Josh, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm glad you said it and not me, because despite the fact that he went on Dave Smith and Alex Jones, and there was a lot of appearances this week on top of just his regular shows, it's just kind of all bled together. I thought, not right. That it wasn't good. There was a couple things we'll get into as we go through the week that I really enjoyed, but ultimately, like the Dave Smith thing, I forgot about it already. I forgot what they talked about.
Yeah, I think it was a lot of recycled content, to be honest with you. Like everything that was kind of mentioned at Steven Crowder, it was like the Steven Crowder collab, but not hostile. It's like we'll talk about all the same things, but Dave Smith's actually a bit more agreeable to some of those premises, whereas Crowder was contentious towards them, and so really didn't really honestly go anywhere. The Alex Jones one, if anything, had maybe a bit more to get into than anything Dave Smith had covered, which is actually kind of a disappointing element. And even on Friday, there was no show as well. No Groyper Report on Friday, and I was expecting that he was going to go live, given the fact that there was this now another leak of another survey. Although this one does seem to be directed at the behest of a company called Vine and Fig Tree, VFT. And that leaked report had named not only just Nick, but also Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson, and the Hodge twins, and Mario Nafal, and Ian Carroll, and Jackson Hinkle, I think specifically all by name. And it looks to be as if there is already some positioning happening, and they're using this kind of polling data, the survey data, specifically targeted about the dissident right, to figure out what ways they need to engage or be able to tell their politicians how to interact with this kind of new and upcoming entity, if you will, which is this idea of America First. And it was going hand in hand with some concepts, which was, is MAGA a different entity than America First? And the majority of people answered yes. And so this survey was taking a very specific look at a subset of individuals, 90% of which I believe were under the age of 35, and 96% of which were men and male respondents. So we had many of these kind of responses coming from that survey. And also what we got was a national benchmark poll that Nick did talk about on Thursday that I thought was really good. And this was the one that kind of has the big news inside of it, which is 8% of the nation identifies as Groypers, or was the result of the poll. Obviously that's the result of a poll, so it's an indicator. Don't take that as an actual fact. But Nick took that as a W, and I think that is a W, especially when you're looking at some of the other data around it. And I think specifically the thing that kind of really set me off on that one was when you separated that poll by age range, the biggest group that identified as Groypers was actually not the youth. It wasn't even the second age group up. It was the third age group up. It was 35s to 44-year-olds, I believe, was the age range that were most likely to answer that they did support Nick Fuentes and were indeed identifying as Groypers. So that's kind of a lot of crazy stuff in there. And I think maybe the only really big thing that's kind of maybe was cause for controversy was the Thomas Massie back and forth. I think he covered that both Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And the way I had it in the outline, which was kind of funny, the Monday episode was Massie election the day before, because the election happened on Tuesday. Tuesday, he has a night show, was him addressing the Massie election after we got the results. And then Wednesday was him talking about how he wanted Massie to fight harder. And many people did not appreciate his response there. And also a bit more about the weight and lead maxing. So a lot to get into, man. But I guess where do you want to dive into first? What piqued your interest the most from this week, Josh? What do you think deserves first spot?
Well, like I said, it's not a main topic, and I don't want to jump the gun here, but something that I really enjoyed. And I always enjoy when Nick kind of talks about stuff like this. It gets me like, hell yeah, is when he talked about us. Why can't we just take Canada, bro? Like, Canada is just the northern states. Like, if you look at the population centers of Canada, it's just 50 miles like north of the United States.
Right.
It's ours, bro. What if we just went in, we deported all the Jeets, we deported all the what is the Pakistanis? We could do it, bro. Why can't we? What are they going to do? They're doing business with China?
Yeah.
Unacceptable. They got to go.
We need to
Justin
dominate.
Trudeau will be crucified publicly.
And what was that? That was on Wednesday, I believe. This was Wednesday, taking Canada. Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, so let's take a look. Let's see what Nick's stance is on wishing we could invade Canada. This is a shorter clip. Let's go ahead and rip it. Here it is.
If instead of doing regime change in Iran, we were doing it in Canada. What if we invaded Canada and deported all the Indians? Would anyone have a problem? Seriously. People say, I'm a non-interventionist. I don't think we should mess with other countries' national sovereignty. Okay, here's a counterpoint. What if we kidnapped the Prime Minister of Canada, invaded, and then we deported 20 million Indians and Pakistanis? Would anyone have a problem? Are you telling me you would be in the streets saying, hands off Canada, let those Indians go, release them back into Toronto? Absolutely not. No, we would be cheering that on, and we would go there. I would sign up myself, and it would be totally asymmetrical. There'd be zero casualties. They would stand no chance. It wouldn't even be a fight. There'd be no risk of dying on our side. So I like that. I wish we would do more of that here. Canada, Greenland, Cuba, Venezuela, Mexico, Bolivia.
What's funny here is the the idea of when Rowan said, I'll allow it. It is kind of funny because, like, I don't really think there is any level of difficulty here with taking Canada, to be honest with you. It would be kind of more like they would just lay down, because I think the majority of Canada would just be like, we can't fight the United States, guys. Like, we're going to get obliterated. Like, just put your weapons down and, like, just take your passport. like, what would the response even be? You know, perhaps they would try. Maybe
it would be like it would be like the Battle of the Bastards, where the last Canadian Mountie is like standing in front of the U.S. Army coming at him all at once. You know what I mean?
You see,
he's like him and Paul Bunyan and Babe the Blue Ox or whatever. Like,
well, then that'd be funny.
Stop right there.
The Force ghost of Paul Bunyan is like putting his hand on the back of the last Mountie. Yeah. He sheds a tear, but it's not water. It's just maple syrup, and it just comes down.
Yo,
it's just like
and
he's like, it's always going to be this
way.
Blue
Ox is now one of the like Brahmin cows. You know what I mean? Like,
no, that's even better. The last Mountie is not even white. It's a Sikh with a turban on. It's like, they really didn't buy that I was Canadian, did they? Paul Bunyan goes, get out of here, you smelly Indian. It's like that it ends. But
you cannot take our land.
well,
As a proud Canadian, we are going to defend to the last man.
is that Sikhs? Or is that more Indian?
Well,
I don't even know what the
I don't
difference is,
know.
to be honest with you.
Yeah, I know. What different flavor of brown you're talking about? Who cares? You know,
I think
if
it's
it
like
walks
how
like a duck
radically
and it
brown
talks
they
like
are.
a duck.
It's like
that?
an Indian's like neutral brown, but then a Sikh is like radically brown. I think that's like the difference.
Yeah, and Sikhs are
Pakistani
more
versus India.
Arab, so aren't they?
I
Are
don't
Sikhs
know.
more Arab?
I think we have to look this up. No, I don't care enough.
I'd rather not. Yeah.
That's funny. We got a super chat here from Mitchell Black. He says, "Josh, have my test tube babies."
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm headed to Little St. James with your DNA and my DNA right now.
Takes
We're going to be
his turban instead of
synthesizing them in the
dot.
blood jacuzzi to create the new Epstein. It's gonna be like what was the last Star Wars movie where Kylo Ren goes to that planet? You know, that's gonna be Mitchell Black on Little St. James.
But he takes the test tube babies and he eats them
Yeah.
into the water. Get rid of these things. Destroy it forever. But though, to be serious though, on a serious note, a lot of
Of course, yeah.
right. On the Canadian element is the mindset that Nick is very pro this changing of the theaters of war, and I think that's why you're seeing this all entering into the political conversation, which is why Venezuela's become obviously because we already took Venezuela, but why Cuba is being entered in all these different discussions, why we're kind of in anticipation when an operation's going to be done. Although I would imagine that nothing will be happening in Cuba until Iran's kind of simmered down. I don't think we're in a position to be running multiple kind of major operations, but maybe we are. Maybe I'm still underestimating the U.S. military. And Canada also pulls itself into this equation because they also do find themselves in the Northern Hemisphere. And to rope the two together between Canada and Venezuela, part of the reason of why we went in to get the Venezuelan oil in the first place was to provide a channel in which we would be able to use the Venezuelan or to get rid of Canadian trade leverage over the United States. And the reason why Canada even has any trade leverage over us here in the US is because of the pipelines that we get from the oil through Canada, from and through Canada and through the US. And the reason being is because we had to. Canada stepped in during, I believe it was in the late 90s or mid 90s, when we had the trade deals set up between, I believe, both Mexico and Venezuela to be able to refine the oil in around the Texas and Louisiana area. We had all this infrastructure built for it. The only issue was around the time the infrastructure was getting close to being built or before it was finished, the oil production of the other nations between both Mexico and Venezuela radically fell off. They were producing much less. And so therefore they were unable to give us what we needed. The infrastructure ultimately remained unused, and the direction we went was buying from Canada. Canada stepped in and said, "Hey, we can sell you this oil. We would just have to run it through, these regions and do it for this price." So for that region alone, Canada has been our preferred option of buying said oil. However, now that we basically own Venezuela, and we're going to be able to directly maneuver, the idea seems to be is we're going to put the oil on the boats, ship the boats across the ocean to where we are through the Gulf, and then deposit it there and then refine it at where the infrastructure was originally built, where the buildings and all the, the infrastructure already pre-exists. So there is a strong positive here in which not only does it also basically put a hold on Venezuela, we basically stepped in and put our foot down on the country. It's also now put Canada in a position where they kind of lost one of the last, if only, things they had in leverage over the United States. And so that put Canada in a weaker position, meaning now Canada has to be competitive with what the oil prices will be based on what we are able to refine at the rate we're able to refine them. So there is a lot of positives here. And I think overall people are conflating the Israeli action in the Middle East with all military action overall. And so they see any kind of military action period, they are quick to be against it, which I think makes sense, especially for most people in a general sense are much more inclined to be anti-interventionist on a neutral level without even knowing any more of the information. However, given the fact in the geopolitical, when you have China and Europe and other countries, when China has now worked its way to being one of the top I think it's conflicting reporting. Either the top trade partner or number 2 trade partner um, in the southern hemisphere and in the north and the southern hemisphere on the west side. It's now put us in a position where we have to actually refocus on our own hemisphere. Because again, for the longest period of time, one of the big benefits to the United States is that we haven't had to really worry about anybody else in our own hemisphere. It's one of the kind of the defensive strategies that we've had. Not really a strategy, but something we take advantage of, a advantage the United States has. And that has actually been slipping away because of our attention being spent elsewhere, being spent in Russia and Ukraine, being spent in the Middle East. And because of that, China took advantage of entering in a lot of these trade deals and becoming and rising their way through the ranks. And now we have to do things to begin to offset that, because we don't want to be able to have China in a position to where they can get contracts with military bases in some of these other countries. And next thing you know, China is now able to point missiles from a location that is many thousands of miles closer than what it previously was, in addition to what other pressures they can apply economically inside of that. So overall, this is why Canada's even being entered into discussion, and why the hemisphere, the theater of war discussions even being talked about at all. But Josh, your thoughts? I kind of ran it there.
No, you're very informative. I just like the idea that Manifest Destiny is coming back. And truthfully, it's kind of, you even brought this up the other night. You explained Nick's take on it very well. You basically said, rather than having the Mexicans and South Americans come to America, why don't we bring America to them? Why don't we cast out Julia Shannonbaum, or whatever her name is, in Mexico,
Yeah.
and we put
Claudia
in
Sheinbaum?
Troy Baker. Yeah, Claudia Sheinbaum.
Yeah.
Can you believe that's the name of the Mexican president?
I can.
And-
After, what was it, 31 other nominees died on their campaign
No
trails?
way.
Isn't that what the figure is? It's like
I
it's
didn't
greater
e-
than 30. Let me look this up.
Dude,
Let me just get a fact check on this.
that's crazy.
We're going to
But
fact
yeah,
check here.
essentially it's like, let's just put Shane Gillis in charge of Mexico. Just grab any American and they can run it better than what they currently have going on. And here's the thing, like we talk about like killing the cartel leaders. Do you know how easy that would be? It's the one place, it's the like 5 to 10 places in Mexico that are like mansions in the middle of the jungle. It's the places that aren't complete shitholes. Just bomb all the nice places and you've got your problem solved.
Yeah. Well, I think just seeing what happened in Mexico with Sheinbaum already, kind of tells a story of the fact that Mexico is already in a rough position to be determining their own sovereignty, their own best interests. And part of that's not even just from outside interference. Oh, it says
Well,
zero.
yeah, I mean,
Interesting.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, okay.
Here's
Here we
the
go.
thing.
Now here's the
Yeah.
real answer. Was Mexico's most violent in modern history, with dozens of politicians and candidates assassinated. Estimates range from 37 to 38 killed, depending on the source and the exact time frame. However, all documented killings involved candidates for lower offices, primarily mayors, local or federal deputies in similar positions, not other presidential nominees. Okay, so there's some clarity there for you.
Okay.
But and again, that actually probably goes back to what I was just about to say, which is the element of, it's, not even you have to worry about China and Russia and all the other foreign outside influences on Mexico, let alone the other countries that are much weaker. But that's also the sign of the narco-terrorism that runs anything south of the border, of the United States. And there's a really, really major problem there. When I didn't even think back to when I'd watched, is maybe just a few years ago, and there was a story there in Mexico. I can't remember any of their names, but it was when one of the sons of like the major crime lords was arrested. And like after he was arrested, it was basically like the entire police force was assassinated overnight. And it was just like immediate chaos. And like he basically walked out of the jail, not getting charged. And like there's just crazy stories you hear coming out of these places. And that is something that part of the reason why Mexico obviously is just in a state of tumultuous and chaos all the time.
That's why, listen, that's why it should be us that takes control of the whole planet, if possible. I mean, think about it, because like we know that places like South America and Africa, the only way they'll ever be able to self-govern effectively is if they
With white men.
travel north to the Caucasus and wait 10,000 years to evolve. But okay, all right. Chill. Don't
Like,
say stuff like that.
When do I
Atlas.
turn white?
Yeah. But it's like I was telling you,
doing
I watched
Snow
this
Angels.
documentary from the 60s called Africa Addio, and it's crazy, dude. Like, the minute the white people left, it was like, okay, here's our farms. You can just have them. And they just they didn't even kill the cows. They just like cut their legs off and like tortured them to death because it was white man's cows. That's what's going on in Africa. That was like the second we left. Think about how bad it's gone now. And inevitably what's going to happen? You're getting what you get now. China's going in there. And what do they do? You know, the Chinese, you know, Asian cultures, they're so I think Nick even said this. They're like insect-like in the sense that it's what's the word? It's very utilitarian. So what are they going to do with these people? They just turn them into slaves. They just throw them at cobalt mines until their feet fall off. You know, it should be us because we will do it humanely, but we will do what must be done.
Yeah. You know, there is an element of that I think that's kind of going to be the evolution of America, right? We're going from the republic to the empire. This was like the transition that seemingly is occurring right now. And the issue I think is the only issue I guess I really have with that on the surface is that I want it to be a crusades of getting rid. Like if it was in the vein of crusades, I would sign up overnight. If the banner being raised was not one that had an Israeli flag also sewn onto the corner of it, I would be so happy for it. You know, full send completely. But it's this like, what's the way to describe it? It's like it's just the American empire as is right now, which is seemingly like this it's just this amalgamation of the first modern world, McDonald's,
You know,
secularism.
yes.
Like that's what I
That's
don't
what I was
like
going to
seeing.
say.
Yeah.
It feels like I got a job at Amazon and they're like, here's a gun, go fight in a war. You know what I mean? Like instead of driving a route, here's your gun, and you're gonna have you know, you're not even gonna have armor, but it's gonna have the little Amazon smile like A to Z symbol on it.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's what it feels like. Jeff Bezos it's like, here's your contract to go fight in war. It's not like you're fighting for anything meaningful. So people can get their Nintendos on time.
Tick says that someone's audio just effed up. Let me know, Tix, if it's mine or yours.
It was probably I think I backed away from the mic.
Oh, word. Okay.
So that might be me. But
I was gonna say, it sounds fine.
If it wasn't, let us know. Let us know.
Oh, we said he went 10 for a sec. Okay. Go ahead.
Thank you, Smelly Balls, for pointing out my weight. I have been losing weight. I meant to tell you that in the green room. I've been consistently losing 2 pounds a week, and it's all thanks to, did I get this right? Nope, I did not. This man right here, Atlas, has been helping me with the weight loss. I haven't been doing any working out. I've just been doing the fasting, and it's working. Which
That's
coincidentally is like when Nick, well, he started doing it a little bit before. I love you too, Smelly. You know, but like it is kind of interesting timing. No Retatrutide, no peptides, whatever it is.
Do you know how much you've lost?
I'd say like 15-ish pounds.
And this was just from not eating.
It's been yes, and it's been about a month.
So you are preparing young men to starve to death. How could you, Josh? Are you part of the psyop to make men starve? Like, how could you do this, Josh?
Dude, I
Soros.
actually okay. Do we have that clip? The one where he's talking about the goofiness where people are like, "Oh, it's actually the opposite. If you don't eat, then you'll gain weight." Because I know he talked about that response,
dude.
Because we got a couple ones labeled about the weight loss, but I don't know which one it is. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about?
The one I think you're messaging is this is what his parents were saying to him. It was, he mentions his parents said something of like, no, you have it all wrong. If you don't eat, you'll start gaining weight. I'm like, dude, they got one-shotted by the food pyramid, didn't they? Uh, and it's like, it's just sad.
Well-
It's just like, because people are so just, and this is what I said when I covered it on stream earlier this week, which was like, bro, like there's how many fitness influencers in the world now? 10 bajillion? Like, just maybe like, and not to say all of them are right or correct, but like, I would imagine the vast majority of them would be able to explain to you a caloric deficit. That's the hope, at least. I wouldn't go to a woman, never listen to a woman, ever, period. And women can't be fitness influencers. They're just secondary OnlyFans.
Well,
stars.
and here's the thing, because I kind of bought that line for a while, which I'm embarrassed to say, because this is how it was explained to me originally, is that if you're fasting too much, like to an insane degree, your body goes into this like panic mode, this like starvation mode. So whenever you eat, it basically stores that into fat, because it's your body's expecting that you won't get food again for a long time. Now, the thing is, we're talking about eating once a day. That's not what we're talking.
Right.
It's not like I'm an African child that hasn't had solid food in a month, and then I get a Snickers bar, and that just immediately goes to my gut. You know what I mean?
That is what I think of when I hear Josh Vanderbilt. I go, African child is like the first thing that comes up. The first thing I see in my brain. That's the memory association. It's a starving Ethiopian. You know, that's my I think of Josh. No, but you're spot on. And it's kind of sad because I think so it was crazy to see the reaction to what Nick said, because I have been saying it for a long time. I have been telling people to intermittent fast for a long time. I've been telling people, you know, to stop putting food in their mouth, right? Like, stop. You don't need 5 meals a day. No, you don't need to eat 400,000 times a day. But then these people see it, and the immediate reaction is like, wow, he's like, well, this is like 70 chess. He's like, really, this is a message to prepare young men for their peasant life. You'll own nothing and be happy. Do you remember that? It's like, dude, you know, I'm like looking for a bridge. I'm like, help, someone find a bridge for me to jump off of. That's just sad. What can you do?
Well, yeah. And it is kind of funny. I did see that where people were saying, it's like, oh, it's like how they're now you can't buy houses. They don't want you to eat whenever you want. They're preparing you to have one meal a day. And it's like, dude, let's calm down, bro.
Yeah. That's because the crazy part was seeing it come from uncensored AI. Like, brother, you could have just put that in your own platform and you would have got an answer that would have been the opposite of what you said. You know, but again, it's hard to trust any of these people. It's like it's like, honestly, it's crazy.
Dude, Zeb.
Did you miss one?
Let's find something you agree with Nick on, please. Zeb's clowning
There's
Nick.
no way, Zeb. Zeb, what are we doing, dude? What are we doing?
Okay, and first off, he probably has, Nick. Like, he shits on things. That's what he does. And then he immediately goes back. He'll say one thing one night and then the next thing the next night about like Star Wars or food, you know, or pizza. I remember he had this crazy crash out where I was like, calm down, man, talking about how Chicago style pizza is better than New York. It's not. But like, you know, he just crashes out.
Whoa, dude. Chicago style is infinitely better than New York style. New York style is the worst of all the styles. By far. It goes, I wouldn't put Chicago number one.
I don't like lasagna.
Detroit style's number one. Best style pizza ever.
Is that like you order pizza and then it gets stolen?
No, it's you order it and it looks great, and then you take a bite and the first bite's wonderful, and then by the time you look back, there's nothing there. There's only a few pieces left. You're like, wait a minute, whoa, like what happened here? Everything left. But Detroit's number one.
I've never even heard of Detroit style. Let me look.
Yeah, you have to be a superior. You have to be a certain class of white person to even be whispered.
What
like,
the? Oh my God!
Was,
this is
It
not
shocks
pizza.
me too. No, listen. I have to tell you the story because I was in the pizzeria and this guy in a black suit approached me, and I was just nervous at first. I thought it was like Men in Black, and he's like, "Right this way, sir," and next thing you know, he puts a blindfold on. I wake up in Agartha, and they're showing me, they're like, "This is what we've kept from the lesser whites. We will allow you to take the recipe back." And I was like, "Me? You wouldn't trust me? And they would say, no, we think you're kind of a gay Mexican, but we think that you're good at making pizza. So go ahead and take this. Go ahead and take this back. No, but to get back to the point,
All
Detroit
right.
style's
First
number one.
off,
Sicilian,
pizza is
Chicago,
Italian food, which
New
they
York.
don't have in Agartha.
You're not understanding.
I'm kidding.
Agartha's underneath Italy. It's not past the Antarctic walls. Agartha's underneath Italy.
Oh, I'm thinking of Hyperborea.
Yeah. So eventually the pizza just sprung up because they're making so much underneath.
Okay, all right, hold on. So Detroit, Chicago, how?
So you have Detroit number 1,
7.
Sicilian's number 2. And then I think I would put Chicago at 3. I like New York. New York could go up there, but I do like Napoleon style. I would probably put Napoleon style 4th. New York 5th.
Dude, why? Okay, listen. I'm not saying I don't like bread, tomato sauce, cheese, and pepperonis, okay? But
Okay.
like Detroit, Chicago, Michigan style pizza, it's lasagna, okay? This is not pizza. Pizza is round and relatively thin. You might have a deep dish, but literally your top 3 is just a pie. It is just lasagna.
I'm gonna actually crash out. No, let me show you.
Oh, hey, we found a debate topic in the next Nav DMC. Is Chicago style lasagna actually pizza?
First of all, someone else needs to debate, because if I end up going 4-0 before anybody else gets their first win, I don't know what else to do. I don't know what else to tell you.
That was good.
But let me put this on screen. I want to show you guys this, because this is Detroit style. So it's different than Chicago style, okay? So think of Chicago style, but inverse it. Okay, so look at this photo. Let's get a good side photo. This is probably a good side photo here. Seems to be. So Chicago, what you were saying, right? It's like lasagna, where it's the majority of it is the sauce and the cheese with like the thin layer. It's like very soupy. Detroit is flipped. Detroit is flipped is where the majority of the build of the pizza is like a cake style texture dough. So it's a thicker pizza. It's a very thick crust. Some places like out west have different variations of it. They're not like Detroit style. There's one very popular place in Colorado that's called like mountain crust or something to that effect. And like they make it their point. It's like their crust is just like, it's just disgustingly thick. Thick. But we like it thick. We like it thick. Real thick.
I like I mean, and that's my thing is like I don't like the I don't mind the style. I agree with Zeb on this one. Sauce on the top is criminal. That's insane.
Man.
That's insane. But I've had it's one of I mean, look at Michigan, Chicago, or sorry, Michigan and Detroit, it's the same. Like look at the two. Which I've had from Marco's Pizza in Charlotte, and it's good. Like I'm not saying it's disgusting. I'm just saying don't call it pizza, call it lasagna, call it what it is. Let's call a spade here.
Well, that's right, because Zeb always has to disagree. That's right. That's how we got.
He brought up intermittent fasting, and I brought up a Nick crash out where he like was freaking out about how New York style pizza sucks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which the thing, like Nick has always sold me on Chicago food. Like I don't know anything about Chicago except from what I hear from him. So
yeah,
he's selling me on the food scene.
Yeah, it's a very food place. There's like not really much to see. You know, you go like, hey, there's black people killing each other, and there's pizza,
and there's Lake Michigan.
Well, and the hot dogs too. Chicago dogs are pretty good as well. I'm going to Chicago.
Really?
Here in a couple weeks.
Cool.
On special business. Called in the big guns. They said we need a personal appearance. Personal appearance in Chicago. But I will be there actually.
The bean is summoning you.
Yeah, something's summoning me. I'll be there. but no. I guess to end on a positive note, though, I will tell you this: I ate a large chicken barbecue pizza every single day for a year and a half and lost 45 pounds. you want to figure out how, just find me, message me somewhere. But speaking of, I've already seen people commenting on it. What's Nick's weight? You know, how much is Nick? What was that one? Nick Twink build? I thought that was funny.
Oh,
the rapeable weight.
yeah, that's funny.
It's just dying, dude. Because I think that too. Like, I'm like, well, my first thought is like, oh, that's pretty small, dude. Like, I would hate being at that weight. Other people's first thoughts is like, I would rape you at that weight. It's like, whoa. You know, ref, can I get someone to stand in here? Like, holy crap.
I love the one where he was like, did you know that you weigh less than the average Asian woman? And he goes, what does that say about Asian women? Bunch of fat asses. Yeah.
But he's so right, though. I mean, that is the truth. That's the reality. I don't know if you follow Pearl's boyfriend. I don't even know if they're still together or not. What's his name? Like, his ex handles like Nuclear Cadillo or something like that. And he made the body. I don't know if you'd seen this, but he made the body feature. And he put in all the women averages, like, and not just average weight, but like average shoulder width, average neck width, like girth, girth of face, average, upper chest build, average middle body build, average lower waist build. And he put all the averages for women in there, like across the board, like the average size for an American woman. And it literally looks like the most disgusting creature in your entire life. Like the pear build, the tiny, mosquito bites, but massive beer gut, smaller waist than torso size. I mean, like, this is insane. You're telling me the average woman,
man.
if you were to grab a woman on average, her stomach is wider than her actual waist. Like, this is disgusting. Like, this is nasty. Like, we need to be out. Like, I almost went outside yesterday to find the first fat woman I could find just to make her life worse. I was like, I need to do my part. I'm not like, I'm not doing enough. So I saw the American First episode and I'm like, I need to go tell a fat woman off, dude. So, but luckily my wife stopped me and, I didn't get out the door.
You were like, honey,
No.
you're like, in the 1950s, you got the like fedora, you've got the coat hanging over your arm and a briefcase. You're like,
Yeah.
I'm on my way to call bitches fat, to call fat bitches fat.
Yeah, I'm at the door. Oh, honey, until next time.
Yo.
Do like a little hat tip.
Goodness. Yeah.
And then I probably wouldn't make it that far in my neighborhood, to be honest with you. But,
we
let's
need
be real.
to, for those women, they need to get mandatory where they have to wear an outfit where it's like they're wearing like Saturn's rings, like they have like orbit around them or something.
Yeah, that's what I'll do. If next time I'm near a fat woman, I'm just gonna all of a sudden be like,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna start going in a circle around her. Like, is anyone else feeling this? Like, what is this?
Yo.
Like, what's happening?
Dude, take like one of those. You'll get like one of those really long canoes with a bunch of Japanese guys or Indonesian guys in it with the harpoons, and just like put wheels on it and drive it down the street. And they're like, like throw the speed.
What is it? It's the atlatl. That's what they're called. The things that like they get the seals with to mark the seals. Just let me get the seal.
Yes, but you know what I'm talking about, where they have spears that are like 50 times longer than they are. They stick them in the whale and they're like hanging off the spear,
Dude, no. Do one even better. Just wear a t-shirt that just says Fat Women Finders. It's like just in massive letters, Fat Women Finders. And then you just show up, a crowd of you. That's like me, you, and Zeb. We all just sit down next to random fat women. We found you.
Yo. Something, dude, you gotta, I'm trying to think. It's something like Ghostbusters. You ever see Ghostbusters?
Yeah.
They've got the packs and they've got the little scanners, and then it's like, I don't know, have like BMI busters or something, and then like scan them, and like the thing like springs up and it's making a bunch of wee like noises, and you're like, we got one.
It needs to be something like invasive too. It needs to be like we carry on like a small size t-shirt and be like, we hold it up. Like we don't even say anything.
Yo,
just like look at each other. No, that ain't gonna work. No, just move on. Just piss people off.
Oh my goodness.
I would love doing stuff like that, to be honest, but don't want to get killed either. Let me go to the super chat though. Listen, Zeb's been having a hard day. You know, let's not we'll read this. Let's remember we are still trying to be friends here. You know, we know Zeb is a Groyper deep down inside.
Oh, come on.
But over the super chat. There's Zeb from Craig Butler who says, Zeb, you have lost all popularity because all you do is shit on Nick. It's getting old. Just do your own thing and build your own movement. Now, I have it on good suspicion that Tom Foe sent this in off an alternate account. But no, I'm just kidding. But listen, trust me. Listen, we know there's a big split. We know there's a huge split. We know there's people back and forth between between Zeb and myself, obviously, and a couple others in here too. But again, we still try to be all friends, right? And we treat Zeb like for the lolcow that he is. You know, Zeb's going to come here and he's going to scream at you to go do some really glowing thing that would get you ultimately sent to prison for the rest of your life. And we just go, he's the old man. He yells, dude, but he's our old man that yells. You know, that's the way I look at it. And John's our drunkard. He's on the stoop too. But he's our drunkard, dude. He's our, he's our hobo who yells sometimes. And sometimes it makes sense. And you never know when that hobo sense is you're gonna need it. No, but I do get.
I'll tell you this: Zeb is extremely chill off the air in person. You know what I mean? Like we'll be talking about the issues, and then the camera turns on, and I'm like, "Oh, who's this?" You know what I mean? Like he plays it up a little bit. So we love Zeb, and Zeb in his deepest, darkest recesses of his heart, he loves Nick too.
Right.
Even though Nick hates the Confederates.
Well, and I would say too, one thing you have to separate is the fact that obviously when we're online, like we're both representing different things. You know, so when I'm out here and I'm representing like my faction. I'm representing I don't speak for all Groypers. I speak for myself, obviously. I don't speak for Nick, but I do speak for someone who is I am very pro this movement. And Zeb is somebody whose political priors have him being positioned against that. And so I wouldn't take it so far as to take it super deep and like in personal, ultimately. But also too, there's an element of the fact that, you know, X and social media now is driven by rage bait. So a lot of this is going back and forth too, you know, and trying to get under people's skin. That's part of the game now. But I also don't want to miss this other super chat here. I saw another one came from Dr. Tetanus. He says, it's hard to build an entirely online movement when living humans depend on you IRL to make more than an internet show every night. Exactly. Trust me. I'm right there with you. It's one thing me and Zeb talk about all the time is the difficulty of trying to do this. Especially for me, like trying to do any stream longer than a couple of hours without it being on the weekend is like damn near impossible. Unless I'm like doing it super late at night. And then I avoid doing that just because I don't want to be streaming on top of when Nick's going along too. And I wouldn't even, yeah. But somebody said his wife is annoying. Okay, let's not send strays towards Zeb's wife, who's not in this conversation at all. Let's actually be respectful. I don't think
okay, yeah, let's chill. Let's chill.
Yeah, Zeb's the one Josh is the one that's driving it, you know? Like I told Josh, like, stop doing it. But Big Island Kaboto says that Sneeko is to Nick, Zeb is to Atlas and Josh. Exactly. And I told this to Zeb on the phone, which was like, when they come, eventually, and if this continues, I would imagine, right? If it continues down this path, there may be a moment where me and Zeb get into it on X or we get into it somewhere. And I told him though on the phone, like, no matter how different or disagreeing we may be or opposition we may be in our political priors, like I'm never going to disavow a friend, you know, and Zeb's been nothing but nice to me. And exactly what Josh had said, like we get along completely fine off air. And I agree with Zeb more than what we disagree on. Like we recognize that. We recognize we are on the same side. Although we might be in different tents, we're still on the same side of the campfire. And so, you know, I think I would say just for many people out there, don't read too much into it. I know Foulball, maybe we made it too believable. I know Foulball was like reaching out, wanted to make sure that we were okay. And this is just part of it. Me and Zeb are ultimately going to go back and forth with each other. That's just the way it is, you know? the Padme thing. He's going down a path I can't follow, and he feels the same vice versa. So this is where we are.
And I do want to say this about that super chat. Zeb, I get where you're coming from, but Zeb is not like Sneeko, because I would say Sneeko, some of the criticisms that Zeb have about Sneeko are true. I think he is a brown clown. I think he's a dumb, like third worldist. And I do think he's a clout chasing backstabber. I don't think he's authentic. I haven't met the guy. He's Nick's friend, not mine. So what do I care? But essentially, that's kind of my mindset, where what Zeb and me and Atlas agree on is way, way closer than what Sneeko and Nick agree on. So I get where you're coming from, but that's just kind of my caveat to what you're saying.
Yeah. And here's what I would say on top of it too. Like, I mean, you guys live in this world, don't you? And like, don't you hate that every second of your life feels like it's misery and anger, and everyone's the animosity towards everybody's an insane level? Like, I have maybe a personal principle of like, I hate feeling like I ever added to that. I hate feeling like I ever made someone feel bad about themselves. I hate feeling like I hate that. Like, I know what it feels like to be on the other side of that. Like, I already know what it feels like when someone's having a terrible day. I know what it feels like when your spare tire, when your first tire blows and then your spare tire blows 5 miles after that. I know what it feels like. And so it's in those veins that I ultimately am always trying to make a positive out of stuff. Now, if people do something that's worthy of criticism and it's meaningful and it's significant, then obviously they deserve the criticism. But in every other element, in all other encounters, I'm trying to not make enemies, I guess, maybe the best way to say that. Same way like me and RD. Me and Rhetorically Defective don't agree on like a lot. We still agree on a good bit, but I still try to make it a point that I would like to be respectful, with RD and maintain this bridge of communication. And so ultimately, I do think there's an element in there, and part of it is because I want to respect and honor Jesus Christ. Like, I want to do what I can to make what positive, what little differences I can. And if that means like holding something in where it could have been a really good joke, but I know it might honestly really piss somebody off, or it might really make them, second guess their self-worth or be destructive of their self-esteem. And it might sound like it's moral fagging. I don't care. That's like how I actually feel, and those are the kind of values that I would like to instill in other people, like being a positive, especially as men. Like, you're built to absorb negative. So do it. You're built to take on you. First of all, especially if you're a white man, like, holy fuck, you are built to overcome. So take your punches in stride and find the next goddamn rock to climb to. It's like, this is who we are as a people, right? This is like what I would like to be as a people. Excellent. We don't take excuses. We don't take the deflections, and we build and we strive for what's positive and what's better, what's the best and most positive outcome. And we do that because we care about our children, because we care about our wives, because we recognize our children are inferior because they are smaller, weaker, younger. We recognize that our wives are inferior because they were designed by God to be our helpers, not leaders, and not be like men. And these are part of things we just got to take on the chin and move on. But not the moral fact too long. I guess I'll turn it back to you, Josh.
Whoa.
Any kind of clip you want to go to? Anything off the top you want to go to? Kind of bounce around.
Off the top of my head, I think since we're in the vein of controversy with Zeb, I think we should take on because this is actually something me and him talked about. I would like to go to his interview with Dave Smith, where he talks about Pat Buchanan. So it's the third one down on the Dave Smith category. Monday.
Pat Buchanan's biggest mistake.
That one.
Got it. All right. Here she is.
He's brilliant. Obviously, off the charts, brilliant, great writer. Red pilled me with Death of the West and
Great book.
Everything. But he's a loser. And I don't say that to be nasty, but he lost. He lost 3 times, right? He lost in 92, 96, lost for reform in 2000. And, it's funny. Sam Francis, who was a friend of his, he wrote an article about his endorsement of Bush in 92 and said that was
Really?
Buchanan's biggest mistake.
I've never read that. Oh,
It's
that's
very interesting. Yeah, I'll send it to you.
Yeah, please do.
But he wrote it at the time and said that's Buchanan's mistake, is that he always comes back to support the GOP. Why? You're at war with them. They're the enemy. They're the problem. And it's because he is the congenital conservative. And by conservative, I don't mean right wing. It's this risk aversion. He's not revolutionary.
Yeah.
He's a reformer. And so in the end, they will always come back to the vomit. The dog will always come back to eat its vomit. They will always come back to endorse the conservative. And I think, by the way, that's now why there's this, people are becoming more comfortable with Pat Buchanan. Because 20 years ago, he was kicked off MSNBC for suicide of a superpower, which he was going to call The Death of Whitey. That was actually the original title.
Is that true?
Yes.
No.
Sam Francis says this.
So, is that true? So there was a chapter in the book called like The End of White America. It was like close to that.
Yes.
One of the chapters. Great book, by the way. Suicide of a Superpower. Highly recommend it.
But that was going to be the title. And point being is he was super controversial back then. You know, Shapiro called him a Nazi in 2016. He's alt-right, whatever. Now, I feel like people are coming around to his legacy. So some of these heritage Americans, pro-Trump people, they're embracing him. But why? Because he lost. And when you lose, you become inert. You're no longer threatening. And so I love Pat Buchanan. However, Francis also wrote a book called Beautiful Losers about the conservatives, and basically saying that conservatives are so principled, but they lose all the time. Like, we're losing the culture war. We're losing the immigration war. And they would rather lose as the civil, principled, whatever you want to say about them, you know, these kind of like Rockefeller Republicans, and actually get dirty and fight and win. And in the end, is it not the paleocons that were the beautiful losers? Is it not those people that, you know, they kind of went down without a huge, ugly fight? And I think about what is different between Buchanan and Trump. In 2016, when Trump was running in the primary, they said, will you endorse the eventual nominee if you don't get it? And Trump said no. Yeah. He said, I have a lot of leverage. He said, so I'd like to run as the Republican, but if I can't have the nomination, then maybe I'll run independent. And they said, well, Hillary Clinton will surely win. And he said, well, yeah, then elect me as the Republican. Otherwise, I'll tank the whole thing. And to me, that's like, and I told them that actually at the dinner. I said, that is when you were at your apex, because you were playing to win. Yeah. That's when I knew you were serious. You weren't just going to say, well, if I win, I win. If I don't, I guess we'll just have Republicans. It's like that burn the boats mentality. That's what we as the base need to develop, that kind of consciousness or that leadership.
No, I get
burn the boats mentality, to reference the burning of the boats the moment they would arrive, to give them no path backwards. There's no turning back now. Go forward. You must go forward. I think was, I believe, initially started by the Greeks, if I'm not mistaken. I believe it was way back, even well before any of the Danes did it. But again, that's the mentality: playing to win, willing to risk it, and that is kind of a correct positioning here. The religion of losing, the religion of playing behind on principles. And, well, you know, I think many people have assessed it in many different ways, but I think the best one, again, is just kind of to point out the very obvious, which is we know that there is, whether you want to assign it to the Democrats or not, we know there's manipulation going on. We know there's exploitation going on. We know that someone's got their finger on the scale. Who is they, though? And even inside of that, you know, with those elements already in play, you know that the Democrats will obviously lie, cheat, and steal. They will do whatever it takes, regardless, because they, for the most part, none of them really have any principles. So they will cheat. And that's kind of the framing here, which is, if you are playing a game, I mean, think about the average, you know, are you going to stay in a Rainbow Six lobby if you know every other person in there is cheating? And you're just sitting there getting annihilated every single time you spawn in, getting shot the moment you walk through a door? Of course not. That's ridiculous. It's stupid. You wouldn't do that. The same thing is true of, like, if you were playing a game of Monopoly, and every time that the person passed go, they took $5,000 instead of $200. You'd be like, I'm not going to play this with you. But the issue is the mentality of the Republicans staying on, or whites staying on the Republican plantation, the majority of people staying on the plantation, is the same thing, which is stay here, don't do anything else, keep doing the same continual thing that has led you to this exact same point that you have arrived at right here, right now. And that is to continually keep walking to the GOP and putting your head down and going down ticket, R, and hoping that that's in some way, shape, or form going to save you. And when all those people are the ones who are all principled, unwilling to play to win, or unwilling to do things that would make you believe that they were playing to win, you end up with the society we have right now, which is all the people on the side of the GOP get to, for the most part, pat themselves on the back and say, well, I stood on principle, as they walk and they go home. after they lost their election by like 25 points. And that's a huge problem. And that's why it is full-blown F the GOP, burn that damn thing to the ground. We will take every single one of you with us, and we will await to see what is there on the other side, because the two-party system is not going away. So the whole point is to destroy whatever remains of the GOP, to bring about something different. Whether it's better or not doesn't even matter. We know that the GOP is not helping. We know the GOP can go nowhere. It is feckless. It is weak. It is a broken and failed institution that ultimately at this point does not represent anything close to conservatism. It represents a big tent reaction to the DSA and progressives. And that's basically it. It really has no kind of strong alignment of values beyond don't let people cut their kids' genitals off. And that's really kind of what coalesces the majority of those people left in MAGA. That's kind of my opening thoughts on that, Josh.
Yeah, and a part of the reason I wanted to play this clip in particular is because he's talking about not necessarily Ben Shapiro, but like a Tucker Carlson, for example. Tucker Carlson today is now singing Pat Buchanan's praises. Tucker Carlson, as we know, a couple months ago, we all saw the clips where he was trashing Pat Buchanan back in the 90s or whenever, when Tucker Carlson was probably in his like early 30s, late 20s, first appearances on Fox or whatever. And so there's the point that it's like now they're singing his praises because he's inert. But this is also something I wanted to mention about that clip. And it's what you said about the noble loser, this like civil-minded, loser. And the reason I think this is so important is because when we say, oh, these people are principled losers, I think that the principles they're not worth sustaining. You know what I mean? It's right. Like, think about who we're talking about. We're talking about the boomers. And these people grew up in a time where the political landscape, it was very different than the founders, obviously, but it resembled it more than it does today by far. So you did have like a Mitt Romney type. You had this statesman-like presence in politics, and now you've got guys that's what they saw coming up, and they refuse to accept that the game has changed. They're doing everything they can to preserve that feeling that they had in their youth, and that mindset, while ignoring the reality of the situation. And it's so frustrating because I've talked about this, how I work on the radio show and I deal with the boomers all the time. And I'm like, look, if the Constitution is getting in our way, why do we hold it in such high esteem? And they go, you're disrespecting the founders. And I'm like, the founders completely threw out a historic empire that was thousands of years old to try something new. That's what I'm suggesting we do. That's what we're suggesting, and we're trying to hold the system. It's the greatest experiment in self-governance in the world. Okay, well, experiments have hypothesis. It's been 250 years.
Yeah.
When are we going to say, okay, the results are in? It didn't work. It didn't work when you let in all these illegals. It only works, and I do think it works. I think the checks and balances, welfare even, I think it is manageable. I think it can be done. But let's be honest. We know what the problems are. But anyway, that's my thoughts on the matter.
No, I completely agree. And I think inside of that, when you mentioned like the beautiful loser and like what you had mentioned, right? This kind of, well, you see it all the time. You see it among some of the most aggressively gay boomers who talk about the founders, and it's like, dude, the founder knew what you believed. He'd be he wouldn't let you leave the studio until you apologize. You know what I mean? Like, and it's all this kind of cherry picking, really, of like what they think really was the actual reality there, and they're always generally so far off base. And I think part of it is because they are really what they're referencing is the kind of the Hollywood version of what is told, the elementary school version of the history of the American history, which is very PG and removed from some of its other like more extreme elements, and also removed of some of its more radical political elements. And one of the things I always kind of think of all the time inside of that is I think of the Patrick meme. You remember the Patrick meme where it's him and the other guy? I forget what his name is. He's like the big villain. He's got like the big red suit with like the big blue hat looking thing on him.
Oh, Man Ray. Yeah,
Man Ray. And what I think all the time is when you talk about the conversations all the time that I might have. Well, you talk about how you need to do things that would probably make you a target, right? Where like if you're being more outspoken, or you're just making yourself heard more. You know, you're making yourself to be a target, if you will, right? And we're talking about making yourself heard in social media. We're talking about, you know, even like during the early 2020 to 2024 era, when people were like basically begging, you know, people like business owners and companies to like not fold, you know, to the wokeness, because they were obviously getting consolidated and getting attacked and swarmed by a bunch of deranged blue-haired people. You always get this kind of comment from many people, the older generations, which is, you know, it's better to like, you know, don't do that. Don't take any risks. You know, don't bring any of that to your attention. It's like, well, it's hard to say that. It's hard to understand that when that's coming from a conservative person who believes in all the values of what the Constitution and what the country represent, but that was brought to you by a bunch of men who had families and had children, and otherwise, like, they had to take a risk. You can't get one without the other. You either believe risk taking is good and should be a thing, and you can recognize it's inherent to achieving the goals that you would ultimately like to get to. I mean, this is like the same thing in small business. Is that what most people or most parents are telling their kids? Never start a business. Don't ever take any risk. Why would you ever do that? Just walk into the factory. It's much easier. And that's ridiculous. That's insane. You should always be pushing people to go and achieve with the best of what they can, pushing them for the highest level, you know, in the stars. And so inside of that, I do view this kind of Man Ray meme, the element. You're like, so you believe the founding fathers are good people. They did good things. Yes. You believe the Constitution was a great thing. Did it, you know, all this. They're like, yes. So I should do what the founders did. No. It's like, it's like you go like, wait, what's going on here? And it's like, it's because they're so removed from that. They don't get it. They don't understand that sons and wives and daughters and mothers and fathers and uncles and cousins and granddaughters and grandfathers, they were turning each other in. It was a bloodbath for a lot of these guys. This is why they wrote it their pen names. This is why they were hiding. Even back then, they were trying to make it. They knew their own families would turn them in. And so at a certain point, you have to be like, you have to take a risk. Sitting here and avoiding taking a risk is only going to get you killed. It's like the person who like sits in the corner while the monster's there. It's like, all you're doing is giving yourself more time before the monster kills you. It will do nothing to actually aid you. You can either get up and find an exit and take the percentage chance that you might find some way out of this, or you can sit and buy yourself enough time to ultimately die. Choice is up to you.
Well, and when you put it like that, it's almost like they think about it in reverse, where it's like the reason the founders were great is because that their revolution brought about this, you know, it's almost divinely inspired document, the Declaration of Independence, where it's like, no, what they did that was great was they saw themselves as a distinct people and had a revolution against what they perceived to be an oppressive regime across the sea that was treating them unfairly. They wanted to look out for themselves, and then the Declaration and all the other stuff came after, which also it wasn't unanimous. You know what I mean? Like they contested all these things. The Bill of Rights, all of this was heated and contested until the very end, and it was and let's be honest. George Washington, he deserves the credit he gets, but I say he should have been king, bro. We could have had it, bro. And that dude, I love that. The boomers, they literally say that. What would you rather have, a king? It's like, dude, the founders wanted one. What are you talking about? Like the problem isn't a king. The problem was the taxation for them. But anyway, you know,
right.
We won't get into the weeds.
And also, one thing that I don't think many people think about too is the psychological element of like where blame gets directed, because now we're in a democracy, right, a republic. You don't see kings' heads rolling anymore, and the reason being is because the onus of the blame if the system is failing is thus on the people, because if the people voted in rulers who are ineffective, well, who voted them in? It was the people, which is where in a king, though, the king generally inherits rule, or it's through a tradition, or is like bestowed upon him by a steward or something like that, like it's given. And he is like the sole, he is the state, essentially. Meaning if the state begins to fail, or it weakens, or bad decisions are made, the people blame him because he's the only one involved in the process. People don't get a say. So the onus falls more on the singular source. So you would also have a situation there in which it would people would be much more acclimated and maybe more incentivized to make their thoughts heard, because it would be towards a singular source, the king. Thus, hence the king's head will roll, and you get a new king. But without that mechanism involved, it kind of maintains this. Shitty things happen. Everybody calls each other retarded. We all go up to the voting booth again. More ineffective leaders get voted. Then everyone else, the other side, blames each other all over you, back and forth. And so inside of that, the psychological element is the people just they don't blame the up above sources as much, because again, because of the element that they voted, it's like the responsibility is also equally distributed among the populace.
Well, you're exactly right, and it's like that is in my opinion, one of the fatal flaws in our system is when it's a king, when it's a dictator, you can say it's his fault. You know what I mean? When it's this democratic checks and balances bureaucracy, to punish anyone, you have to punish everyone. And
Right.
it's just impossible. You know what I mean? And even when you get the quote unquote punishment, when the problem becomes too big to ignore, they can just lie. I mean, you saw, we've been talking about the Somali fraud in Minnesota for a couple months now. Did you see, we made an arrest and it's some Slavic ogre? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That's not who we're talking about. Like we're talking the Leering Center. It's Somalians, and there's like, here's our sacrificial lamb, and it's some ugly Russian woman.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's like, dude, I would rather free 100 of those bitches and deport innocent Somalians. You know what I mean?
Well,
But anyway, that's just me.
it is,
Not
but it provides at least runway for this kind of nexus where people are just like, it feels like what Nick said. It's just rendered. It's like stalls. It's like we kind of arrived at this point where it's almost like unmovable. It's like we're kind of like in a gridlock, if you will. And everybody knows like these people ultimately shouldn't be in power, but it's also like the fundamentalists too, like what you had mentioned earlier. People who are clinging to the Constitution will fight tooth and nail for the Constitution, but it's like elements inside of the Constitution that provide the structure of which is causing us the problems is part of the problem, and it's like some things like that. Like you think about too, like this goes to things like packing the court, which I know you've dealt with on the phone all the time with some of these boomers on the phone. But the reality is like, but on the other side of that, if given the chance, and the Democrats will, they're going to pack the court. Next thing you know, we're going to have 16 Supreme Court justices, and 11 of them will be liberal. And what are you going to do then? Well, then the Republicans will be back in the same beautiful loser position, which is to say, well, that's why these bad people are evil. And it's like, well, this is why now they are going to dominate your children and are going to indoctrinate everybody. And what are you going to do about that? Just sit there and take it? It's a religion of losing.
Well, and before we move on, I'll say this. I think I've told you this before. I had a discussion on the radio with my boss. And I said, like, listen, the left, we're all talking about how the left is trying to overtake everything. They're trying to capture the whole system and then rule over us forever. So we
Right.
need to do that first. And he goes, well, the problem with anyone doing it is that eventually when the other side takes power, then they'll seek retribution. And it's like, so we shouldn't pack the court because the left will pack the court first, and then eventually we'll get back into power and overturn them. But if we did it, they would somehow regain power and then turn it against us. I don't think you're understanding what I'm saying. What I'm saying is we take absolute power and they have none whatsoever. They have no representation. They have no ability to organize, and their ideology and their sense of unity fizzles out. That's what they're trying and going to do to us if we do not do it first.
And
It's a zero-sum game.
that's why you You know, so when you want to just grab the blindfold down, and it's like, so what you're telling me is you already know what the Democrats are going to do when they win, and you're not doing anything to
Right.
stop it. It's like you're given the chance. You are in the position right now. You can preemptively stop about half of what you are expecting is going to happen if the Democrats win, but you won't. And the question is why. And the reason to that why is because of fundamentals, and because we don't do that here, right? It's like this is how, like you said, the statesman. This is how Republicans are supposed to act. This is how we act on this side of the aisle. We don't do. And again, it's ultimately meaningless. And part of it is because they just don't recognize the enemy at the gate too. You can't kill a tiger the same way you kill a bear, and I think there's a huge problem inside of that. The inability to recognize what the actual effective tool or utility would be to take on the problem that we're dealing with. You know, they're fighting with Elmer's glue, and we're up against demons essentially. It's useless.
Right.
The one of the main ones though, because we made it the thumbnail, I want to make sure we cover this one. Was Nick's take from America First on Wednesday, and this was his take on Thomas Massie. Now I know we didn't cover many of the problems or many of the coverage at all from Thomas Massie from Nick on Monday or Tuesday, but again, it's kind of recycled at this point. Most of you guys know the results of that race. So we will cover is Nick on the day after Massie lost, where he kind of give a bit more harsher comments on the way he felt about how Massie did run his campaign in comparison to Fishback. So here's that part. We'll go and play it now.
Said on Telegram, Gucci backpack, let it go. He lost. And I'm going to say something else that's going to be a little bit controversial about Thomas Massie. I feel like he didn't really fight that hard. I'm just being honest. When people say things like, I think he should run for president, I think people ask me, who do you want to run in 28? Is it going to be Massie? It does nothing for me. It really does nothing. And by that, people are going to say, oh, you're a narcissist. I mean, it's not compelling to me. I feel like if you're under siege by the Israel lobby, you need to make your whole platform, I'm in a war, like make the race a proxy war against the Israel lobby. If you're going to be a martyr, if you're going to lose your seat anyway, then go down swinging and do some big rallies and, hey, yeah, get with the streamers and make it about that. But I feel like all these tweets and rallies, they were just so like low energy and passive aggressive and kind of sad victim mentality. Trump is beating up on me. The Israelis are beating up on me. I wish there would have been a little bit more of a fight. I was thinking about this last night. I was thinking, why did it just never click for me with Massie? And I think on some level, it's because I just don't see an icon. I don't see the vision. When I see a guy like Fishback, I see energy. I see young people. I see rallies. I see him doing 2 rallies every day in real life. I see him on the campuses at IHOP, at Waffle House, at a gas station, at a taqueria. I see him streaming with Sneeko. I see him doing collabs with live streamers. I see him on Instagram doing a digital campaign. And when he's talking, it's bold. He's saying, yeah, we're going to tax OnlyFans 100%, and we're banning data centers, and we're banning dual citizens. And, I see fire. I see heat. I see energy. I see Vishnu. I see a man against time. I see a man above time, a man against time. And when I see Thomas Massie, I see this guy in glasses who does this sort of thing where it's sort of like hands in pockets. So we don't have money for a bridge, but we have money for Israel. Yeah, okay. You're darn tootin'. $3.8 billion for Israel, and we can't even balance the budget. All right, okay. I guess that makes a lot of sense. Am I right, folks? You're like, no, bro, bring fire. What happened to fire and fury? What happened to we're going to do things to you that have never been done before? That's why we like Trump. We have to remember, why did we like Trump? It wasn't all substance. It was also style. He was forceful. He was big. He was a fighter. He was a winner. His name is triumphant, versus this And I'm not knocking him. I mean, I think Massie's an honorable man, and everything I said last night stands and everything like that. But I wish it would have turned into the proxy war that it should have been. I saw, and here's how you know, if you're unconvinced by this, you think I'm a terrible person. He ran an ad in his district that was supporting Trump. I saw he ran an ad, this was on Twitter, where he's saying, I voted with Trump 90% of the time, and the 10% I didn't, well, I was being principled. And you're like, that's the message? Like, dude, Trump is bitching you out. Trump is eating your lunch. He is drinking your milkshake. He is banging your wife. He is on True Social motherfucking you every week out of pure spite and vengeance. And you're running ads in your district, ball washing him and saying, hey, I know you think me and the president are fighting. It's a little difference of opinion. I vote with them most of the time. Like, who could get behind that? Like, what's the message? I'm confused. Is this a proxy war about our Zionist-occupied government? Are you trying to convince us that Trump isn't really that mad at you? So I saw that and I was like, you know what?
A lot there. I will say, on the internet's in and out, getting it intermittent for me. Storm is getting rough around me. I saw that during that, frames are getting dropped like crazy. They're even getting dropped right now. I don't know. I might even be at risk of the stream ending.
No.
It's really bad.
Is it? Oh no.
It's not.
It was coming through fine for me.
It seems to be okay. It's just like it's choppy in bits. It's probably doing it right now. Yeah, I just lost another 250, going up 350.
Oh yeah, it kind of froze for me a second, but
yeah, my internet.
The show must go on.
Yeah, I mean, we'll definitely try.
I think one of my main takeaways from that clip, and I know Nick has said this before, and he doesn't explicitly say it in that exact clip, but this is a prime example. I think everything he said about Massie is true. It's a prime example of how this idea that like being able to criticize Israel is the apex of everything that must be accomplished. We need to get past that. Like there was a time where it's like you couldn't say any of this and now you can. That's great, but we need to move forward. That was never the be all end all. It was never like, okay, now everyone knows Israel controls America, but they still control us, but now everyone knows it. The whole point of that was to get people on board so that we could change things. And now people are getting on board, but we know Israel's fighting back. I'm sure they're preparing to reintegrate the narrative in some other way, which Nick has talked about in the past as well. We need to be mindful of the future. And I think that's absolutely true. I mean, you know, me and Zeb are big supporters of Mark Lynch. And I think it's a little different. I think, you know, it's you have to cater to Trump a little bit. The problem is, you know, like Mark Lynch is kind of running pro-Trump ads. It's the same deal as Massie, but they're not pro-Trump. They're how Lindsey Graham is not MAGA. You know what I mean? It's not the same as like he says ball washing Trump. You got to play the game a little bit, but it's like let's be tactful, let's be mindful, and let's carry this thing forward, guys.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess the one thing I don't know is, I guess, you know, do you think that Thomas Massie knew he was going to lose the race? Do you think there was a healthy belief there, or perhaps maybe he did believe that he was still had a chance? I think at least even in Polymarket, it was still pretty close up until like the last couple of days, until Rain kind of had like a 10-point swing in his direction. But I mean, I do agree, right? This is it was served up on a silver platter for Massie to take the distance, especially on Israel. Now, he made mention many times, right, with AIPAC and making mention on NBC or ABC, wherever he was at, specifically about the, you know, his election being a referendum essentially on Israel, and the addition of all of the, you know, the influx of cash coming from some of the usual actors, right, with Miriam Adelson and many others like that. he should have went down swinging. And perhaps maybe the reason that he doesn't is because he's in some way, shape, or form thinks that perhaps there's still a big part of his base that is MAGA aligned. I don't know. Maybe he's getting internal polling that's showing that. So maybe he's in a position where he feels like he doesn't want to go too hard against Trump. But at the same time, if Trump's going at you like that, doesn't that kind of give you a clear lane to respond back and rebuttal? But I think he was correct on all those elements.
I think, and you've actually talked about that a lot this week, that there's a lot of white pills in this situation that are kind of passing under everyone's radar. And I think this is one of them. And I think this is a perfect lesson that other candidates can learn from moving forward. I think you're right. There was a part of Massie, I'm sure people on his team said that, yes, Trump is against us, but we can still win the boomers. I think this is a case study, and the boomers are a lost cause. If they are listening to conservative talk radio and absorbing Fox News all day, every day, they cannot be saved. Focus on what works. And so conversely, kind of like he mentioned, look at James Fishback. Fishback he's not attacking Trump, but he is bringing a young and vibrant energy to it. And now, I mean, the last thing I saw, I don't even know if this is true or verified, that he's surpassed Byron Donalds. That's the last I heard. Is that true?
I know that he climbed a huge amount, but the last I saw, he was still trailing to Byron. The last I had seen on Fishback was he climbed from like 13% to 35%, which is a huge percentage, which shows that he's very viable in this race. The one thing I do know that he has the advantage of over Byron, and this was from early polling maybe about a few weeks ago, and that was that Fishback in the general, he had a greater chance against whoever the Democratic opposition would be, and I don't remember who the person is. But like Byron Donalds was polling even. It was like 40% versus 40% in the general versus the Democrat. Fishback was polling at 45 versus 40, or like 53 versus 40 something. So he had an advantage in the general. And I think that's very indicative of kind of the inverse of what happened in the Ohio race, which is this guy actually stands a chance to beat the Democratic opposition. Whereas what you're seeing here now, like with Casey, there was never any period of time where he had better polling in the general versus Vivek. Like all signs still pointed to the fact that Vivek would have been the best option, under the GOP for Republicans to go forward to beat the Democrats over, still over Casey. And, this is, the element is like, who else is running campaign like Fishback? It is a very kind of unique thing. It does remind you a bit of what you see when some of those like early Donald Trump rallies as well, like the spirit, the energy, the people who were there. But even more so with Fishback is there's a strong presence of young people. And I think it's in the presence of young people that you go, okay, this guy has something to him. He's capturing and captivating a very specific energy in a younger crowd. Maybe he doesn't even need the boomers. Maybe he does get the bunch of the uninitiated to come out and vote for the first time ever. And I think that may be something that you may see that may not even be reflected in the polling whatsoever, because maybe none of those survey results are making their way to 18, 19, and 20-year-olds who would be more than willing to go and vote for a Fishback, who represents, I guess, to them, an idea that is new or different or revolutionary in the sense that it will provide them the things that they are asking for and demanding for.
Well, and it's encouraging to see that the boomers are only going to become less and less of a concern and factor when it comes to elections moving forward. And you're already seeing, as is the case with James Fishback, that the Zoomers, the youth movement, is now becoming a much, much larger chunk of the electorate. You know what I mean? And a meaningful part of it.
Well, a white pill inside there too, with what you you kind of halfway mentioned with the boomers, is the fact that there was two prongs to like what occurred with the Massie race, right? Which is you have the Jews paid into it, but who voted? Adelson didn't go to the voting booth, right? Paul Singer didn't show up at the voting booth. It was the boomers. So the Jews paid, the boomers did, right? The boomers executed, the Jews paid for them to show up, essentially. And inside of that, there is this element, which is, well, if Ed Galrain only won off the back of everybody over the age of 55 going and voting, and Thomas Massie had the entire youth. Well, this implies there's a time limit here, which is, and then again, this is also part of the reason why Israel's Hasbara budget has not went from 20, got multiplied 20 times from what it was in 2024 to get to the $150 million budget they had in 2025, to then pass a few weeks ago, I think at the end of April, a quadrupling budget of that which was already 20 times the year prior, to now a budget of Hasbara that is now approaching close to $1 billion, but now $730 million. This implies they are now reacting to the fact that they are losing the support of the people that they would need to get voting, which is why they are now having to just inject so much money as possible to give them the best chance that they can to maintain or hang on to whatever support is left in the matrix. And hopefully, and you would imagine, as a consequence of that, perhaps win back some of the support they've actually lost. And in there, you have the white pill, which is, if they can never permeate any other audience besides the boomers from here on out, how much worth is the money anymore? If all of the youth, despite seeing the ads, despite seeing all the despite all of that, still will say no, the money becomes worthless because the people it was serving to pay for to go get the votes for who they wanted to win, if that functionality is gone, what happens then? It implies there is an opening here. There is a time period of which the boomer support dies off. The money will be worthless, essentially. It wouldn't matter how much money they put in there. Even if you wanted to say they spent $3 billion, it doesn't matter. Same way it doesn't matter to you when the Democrats pay, $10 million to run all the billboard ads in your local elections. When you're seeing all the random people, it doesn't matter to anything to you. And the reason being is because you already have your ideological priors. You weren't swayed by a billboard. And if you were a person who was swayed by a billboard, you need to go find a bridge. No, just kidding. But this is kind of, this is kind of the mindset in here. And I find that to be an extremely strong white pill, especially because we know since COVID during 2020, this was the great politics became pop culture. And that is inside of the element, which is during that period when most of us were here, I would imagine. In 2020, when everything was shut down, the only thing that most people were paying attention to was politics. And part of the reason was they wanted to understand, wait, what the hell is going on? Pandemic, what's happening? Why is this occurring? I can't go to work. We're getting a stimulus package. And so it was this kind of extremely quick and fast, but emergent element, an event that happened in American history, that now all of these people who, the younger individuals who normally wouldn't have been paying attention to politics, normally wouldn't have cared about anything, would have never been introduced to anybody in the political realm, were because of this major event that caused everyone's attention to focus upon it. And since then, you have these, this is why majority of any streamer you go to, anything that you really ever see, they could be streaming video games. Politics seemingly finds a way into everything now. And that's because politics became pop culture. And so I think you combine those. The boomers are dying off. What's also replacing them is a bit more of a politically in tune youth. And so now you have both of those elements going for you. And hence, this is probably why they're spending close to $1 billion to push Hasbara in this country, because they're about to be on their way out. And I think that's a huge white pill.
It absolutely is. And it's good, because that reminds me, it was a conversation I had with my boss on the radio show this week. And I know I've talked about my boss on the show before, and he's a boomer. Okay. Cut him some slack, but my boss, he personally does want to understand. He's a boomer, guys. It's impossible for him to get all the way there, but I'll tell you this. We had someone from the South Carolina GOP call into the show recently, and my boss asked him, he goes, so what do you make of the youth kind of having this split from Donald Trump, having this increasingly not anti-Israel, but Israel skeptical mindset? And they are kind of, their vote is almost wishy-washy now. What do you think of that? And the SCGOP guy's response was, well, I'm actually more concerned that the young conservatives are going to alienate Israel. And his tone and everything he was saying was so condescending and resentful of this. And my boss, we went into break and he was like, that was nuts. Yeah. Like, I can't believe he said all those things live on the air, knowing he was live. And I was like, think about it. This is, and I explained it, and he kind of had this like, you might be right moment where I was like, think about it. For generations, the GOP, the whites, the conservatives, the Christians, who else are they going to vote for? We don't have to worry about them because they'll always come to us. So for the next 30 years, all I have to do is worry about getting blacks and Hispanics on the train. And now the whites that I know that I used to not even think about are making demands of me. Get the fuck out of here. What's wrong with you people?
Yeah.
That's the mindset. And he was like, you might be right about it. And that's my point. Is it's like that's Nick's point. Is it's like, how are we going to get what we want when we don't do anything? We just press the red button every single time and take whatever shit they put in our mouths.
Right. Exactly. And that goes hand in hand with not pushing anything too far, not being too particularly edgy, any of those things, right? Don't take risks, do the safe option, what's more convenient, not being any, even when you think about like the political kind of sphere, right? It's like when you think of the conservative sphere, it's just naturally smaller. It's like closer schools of thought inside of it anyways. Whereas on the left, it's like this massive sphere. It's a lot more open to innovation, a lot more open to progress. It's a lot more open to all of the things that just falls under the tenet of liberal, right? In its most truest sense, right? Which is kind of, freedom, the openness. And when you don't have that on the right, and they're kind of stuck to this kind of extreme principle of basically just sitting there and taking it, you get what you get. But yeah, and I do also.
It is what it is.
Josh really knows how to paint a beautiful picture with his words. I've missed 1.5 hours of Groyper Cope FML. You know what's funny, and I hope this hurts feelings. What's funny is how on all the other streams, right? If you look at Wignaz streams and elsewhere, you never see Groyper spamming the comments, crashing out. But you see on all the other Groyper streams.
I'm sure it. Listen. I'm sure it's out there.
Right.
I'll be honest. Until I started working with Zeb, the Wignats were so far out of sight and out of mind. It's only now. So we got our retards, Atlas, but they're our retards. We have to take care of them. We're not leftists. We can't just leave them in the woods and hope wolves get them,
I'm saying this only in the sense that it is like, I hope you guys know how much I bite my tongue. I guess maybe I'll say it like that. I want you to know how much I bite my tongue on certain things like that. Because it's like, I don't want to respond to all of it, but I think it is pretty telling that there is a consistent element with this, right? And I've mentioned on stream before. But is there a particular reason you like wallowing in misery, I guess? But beyond there, I want to do the lean maxing one too. The lean maxing.
Oh yeah, let's do it.
Lean is law, the intermittent fasting one. We talked about it earlier, but we didn't actually cover the clip. And so I won't do the rape weight one, but I will do the opening lean maxing monologues. I think this is a good one. And it kind of speaks to kind of everybody, both men and women, and largely men, because women really don't listen anyways. But here's this one.
Fuentes.store. You know what dawned on me? I realized the other day, I did the math wrong. I actually lost 30 pounds. I don't know how I made this like basic math problem. I don't know how I got that wrong, but it dawned on me yesterday. I literally lost like 25 to 30 pounds. I didn't even know it was that much. I was like 155 at my peak, and now I'm at like 126. I lost almost, can you believe that? And I didn't even exercise. That just goes to show you do not need to exercise at all. You just need to stop eating. You don't need Ozempic. You don't need Retta. You don't need to lift weights. You don't need to exercise. You don't need to go on a diet. You don't need to do any of these things. You just need to stop eating. And you know what's funny is I did a riff about this a long time ago, but whenever you talk to boomers, like I used to talk to my parents and they used to say this thing to me. They would say, if you stop eating, you actually gain more weight because you're tricking your body into thinking you're in starvation mode, so it hangs onto the fat. You ever hear that? I feel like I heard that a lot growing up. Like that's one of those things you just hear from people. My parents told me that when I stopped eating, and I'm like, you're wrong. It's just physics. If you stop eating, you will not be able to gain weight. It's a simple equation. But boomers have this like retarded idea, no offense to my parents or anyone who's ever said that, but they say, yeah, if you stop eating, you're actually, it actually works the opposite. I'm like, no, I don't think that's true. I think if you eat more, you get fat. If you eat less, you get skinny. And I'm living proof. I guess we'll never know. I'm living proof. Just, yeah, I said this the other night, and Eating Disorder Twitter loved it. I'm borrowing this from a friend of mine. Nothing tastes as good as skinny feels. So I didn't believe it, but now I believe it. When I was eating food like an absolute pig, I said there's nothing hits better than a large cheese pizza and a milkshake. But now that I'm skinny, it's like, no, it's totally true. It's absolutely the case. Put the food down. Stop eating for me. Stop eating. Do it for me. Do it for America first. Do it for the Groypers. No more fatties. No more disgusting pigs. We can't do it. Anyway.
I think it's funny that Asuka always adds the disclaimer at the end of his clip. You know it's Asuka's because it always has these disclaimers. Posted with permission, original content. It's funny that he adds all that in there, or she adds that all in there. I think it's a girl, anyways.
I'm
I don't know if we ever
trying to
got confirmation.
find. Sorry.
I don't know if we ever got confirmation that Asuka Groyper is a guy or a girl. I'm positive it's a girl, though.
Oh, I always thought it was a guy.
Me too.
I'm trying to find what did Nick look like before? Because people are like, oh, he's noticeably skinnier, and maybe because
they used his Dave Smith appearance. Did you see that photo?
No,
they compared and
I
contrast
didn't.
his Dave Smith appearances. Let me see if I can find it.
Nick. Okay, yeah, you got it. Twitter sucks.
Let me see if I can look up Nick Fuentes before and after. Might be easier to just search for photos.
I will. So just quickly to respond to Smelly Balls, I will not become skinny Jared Kushner. I will transcend from chubby to buff Jared Kushner. Atlas is I'm working on a gym routine once I can finally get some clients for my business and make some shmoney. Because right now I'm just working like a dog trying to make money.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll be able to find it. But yeah, it's like a before and after. And it is it's very noticeable, especially on his face. You can tell it's all packed on the back end of his cheeks. It kind of looks like it's brought forward. And he's way more, his skin's pulled back down, around the back half of the jawline.
I got you.
Which is one of the last places you lose fat too, as well. And for different reasons as well. But yeah, no, do not take Market's advice. You do not always stretch before activities. It depends on what your activity is. Please do not take YouTube advice. Do not take YouTube advice. It says
Atlas.
Ginger Anagram says this is pretty gay, dude, not gonna lie. What is gay? I see Allison said better watch out, Papa Groyper is ascending. It is true. Josh is on his way up. He's
soon.
Yeah. A few stairs away, man.
Yeah, me and Zeb, we're gonna have an arm wrestling contest 1 year from today. And it's gonna be like The Fly, where I'm gonna break his forearm in half.
You're gonna break whose arm in half? Zeb's?
Zeb's.
He's gonna try to stop you from ascending. He's gonna take your arm.
He's gonna. It'll be like the guy from Malcolm in the Middle, where he was injecting butter because he liked his wife a little plump, so he's putting butter in all their food and changing the calories on food and stuff.
It would be funny to see Zeb sees it. He's like looking at the scale. It's like 1 more pound. He's there, dude. 1 more pound. You can't let that happen. Zeb's doing what they did in Breaking Bad. He's like putting heavy cream and like all your food. He's trying to sabotage you.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. And
I've
I-
got a
it's crazy
ahead,
to see
sorry.
all these. I'm flattered actually to see all everyone, the personal trainers coming to let themselves be known. And I'm telling you right now for a fact, no, depending on the activity, you do not exercise beforehand, very specifically so. And the reason being is because stretching, especially in certain elements as well too, you stretch specifically systems of muscles, right? You can stretch something, and now you have one element of your muscle that has been stretched. It's now been lengthened. That's the point of stretching, right? Now you have removed its regular lattice elasticity. And when you do that to one side of a muscle or one head of a muscle and not the others, you have now positioned yourself to be in a position of being injured. The same thing is true of certain just general lifts as well. There's a difference between static stretching and dynamic stretching. It's a lot more than like you just put your arm over your head before you go to sit down on the bench. And there's a lot more that goes into it as well too. On a very real note, like on a very real and specific note, no, not mid-tier rage bait. It is just simple science. But Josh, next one.
Well, in terms of the big topics, I feel like we've kind of covered a lot of them.
Yeah.
This is one I just enjoyed and thought was funny. So go to Thursday AF. It'll be the fourth one down, the one about fingernails.
Thursday. Oh yeah, about his assistant.
Yeah.
I thought I put that one in there, and I don't think I did. I think you added this one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, here we go. See, this one was hilarious. I caught that when I was doing something else. I was actually listening to that one live when it got to the back end of the super chat.
Because this is something I've dealt with people before. This was like a Seinfeld bit almost, because it's one of those things where it's like, well, I'll just let him say it and then we'll continue.
Are you ready? Ready to play it?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it. Here it is.
Candace loves Nicholas sent $20. How do you feel about people who chew with their mouths open / smack / slurp / lick sauce off plates? Sloppy eaters, yay or nay?
Oh, I feel like that's got to be from somebody I know. There is nothing that bothers me more than that. Like, that is the easiest way to give me the ick. I have some people that I know that do that. And what do you even say? I was with somebody the other day. I was with a friend of mine. He's not going to appreciate this at all. He's not going to be happy. Not going to be happy that I said this. But I was with somebody the other day, and bro is literally smacking his lips, chewing like a horse. And I'm like glaring at him. I'm like, hey, man, would you please chew with your mouth closed, please? And he gets all offended. He's like, well, I'm not going to talk anymore. Well, fine. I won't even talk. I'm like, come on. I mean, we're grown men now. We got to chew with our mouths closed. I was with my dad for Mother's Day with my family. Love my father, of course. But I saw my dad. I honestly was appalled. He licked the sauce off his fingers. I saw him. I was sort of like looking right through him. It was like one of those shots where they like zoom in, but they move the camera back. I was disoriented. I was like looking right through him. I was like, it was a betrayal. I couldn't believe it. And he's like, what? What's the problem? I'm like, did you just like lick that sauce off your finger? What are you doing? There is nothing that bothers me more than that. He's like, well, I didn't really. I'm like, we can't be doing that. So licking plates, licking fingers, smacking lips. We can't be doing all that. I don't think there's anything more disgusting. I don't think there's anything worse. I'm very sensitive to that. I'm very sensitive to chewing sounds, very sensitive to chewing with the mouth open. If I catch anybody with fingers in the mouth, I'm going to literally crash the fuck out. I remember my old assistant, he always used to bite his fingernails. And I'll never forget. He was in my living room one time and we were talking about something and he was chewing on his fingernails while I was talking to him. Like this. He was like, and I stopped what I was saying. I said, hey, I said, can you take your fingers out of your mouth when I'm talking to you, please? Thanks. And he got like so mad. He was so bent out of shape about that. That actually came up when we had a big falling out. I think that actually came up when we had this big crash out months later. But I can't. I just can't. You're going to have your fingers inside your mouth. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? I'm talking to you. And he's got his fingers in his mouth, chewing his nails. I wanted to slap him. I wanted to give him a slap. He was bigger than me, would have kicked my ass, but like, it's like, please take your hands out of your mouth when I'm having a conversation with you. Do that somewhere else. You want to bite your fingernails? I think that's gross. People that have, you can always tell. You know what I'm talking about? Somebody that bites their fingernails, their fingertips are always red and raw, and their fingernails look like they're half eaten. I don't even want to shake your fucking hand. You know what I'm talking about? I know fingernail biters, and I don't even want to shake their hand. I'm like, get that fucking hand away from me. I don't know where that hand has been. I don't know where that mouth has been. That's just gross. It's very important to me that people have like well manicured hands. And I don't mean like you get a manicure, but I mean, it just says a lot about a person, I think. And if you're biting your nails like that, I think that's just repulsive. You're a disgusting human being. Because think about all the things you touch during the day. Think about all the doorknobs and escalator, railing, whatever, stair railing, shake people's hands, touch your phone screen, wipe your ass. And then you're just going to eat whatever is growing on your fingernails. It's just vile, disgusting. Should be a genocide. Should be an absolute genocide against those people. That's the only genocide I would support. People like that should be just fucking get them out of here. So it's a big problem for me.
Just dying at some of the comments.
Dude, I don't know if you've dealt. It's so true though. I saw like, what? Like it was like, if I can smell your breath and it's cold outside, I'm calling the police. Like, you know what? Like, have you ever dealt with people where it's like, and here's the worst part is when it's people you're close with, people that like you care about, because if it's a stranger, someone you don't deal with on a daily basis, it's like you can just like, I just got to pinch my nose and make it through the next hour, and this guy can go be a sicko somewhere else. But like it's kind of like what he said. I have a close friend, and when he chews, dude, it sounds like someone's stirring mac and cheese. It's so repulsive.
I didn't need,
and
nobody here needed that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And I told him, I was like, dude, like, I'm telling you as your friend, because I care about you.
Yeah.
You need to stop. You
Yeah.
need to stop. And
this was an intervention.
This was the worst part. So he had the same story, and he talked about how his friend got like upset and was like, fine, I just won't talk. My friend was the opposite, where it's like, you know how you call someone out on something and they get embarrassed by it, so they double down. So I called out the chewing, and he went like he intentionally did it after I said that, like to play it off. And I had to like take a minute. I was like,
man, I'm right there with you. Like I'm not as bad about like, it's like the visuals, it's the sounds. Like people who are chewing gum loudly near me, I literally want to punch them in the fucking mouth. Well, I want to punch them in the mouth, right? I can't stand it.
No,
many fights between my
like
brothers and I happened because my brother wouldn't stop chewing with his mouth open. Like this is a real story here, dude. Like this is like the start of many arguments. It's like we're like watching, we both have our TV trays, we're like watching something, and it's like all of a sudden it's the only thing I can hear. It's like the room goes dark. It's just me alone in a black room with a single spotlight, and all I can hear a smacking of lips, and like I'm just like, all of a sudden it's like that's all that matters, dude. I've lost sight of everything of value. It's like, if only I can make it stop. It's all that matters. You know, it's like full blown psychosis in a jail cell in a white room. I'm like, someone has to make it stop. That's how I feel about
I wish
that.
I could be like Agent Smith when he closes like Neo's mouth, you know, like his mouth like seals
He
shut.
just seals it, yeah.
It's like you're in timeout. You've lost your mouth subscription for the next hour, you know, until
It's
you
gone.
learn your lesson.
Yeah, we're not.
And
We're
dude,
done.
that's the worst part. Is no matter what it is, like I've had people that have like BO, and I'm like, I've taken people aside and been like, dude, I have deodorant in my car. You smell bad. Like, and we're at a thing, you know, you need to smell the odor. I do this to people that I care about. I've never had someone not get upset about it. They all take it personally.
Yeah.
And me, one thing I'm really sensitive about is I can't stand getting into somebody else's car and it has like an odor. And I don't even mean like a stinky thing. It just has this like, it's a unique smell.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah,
I
it's
want
their
my
scent.
car to smell good. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, so whenever I'm like, have like a loved one that I'm like real personal, you know, I'm like, hey, be honest. Like, how's the car smell? You know what I mean? Like, that's how I'm rolling
crazy.
is I need to,
That's crazy.
you know what, like, but like, that's my thing. You know, it's like, I keep deodorant in my backpack. It's like, you got to freshen up every now and then, dude.
Yeah, I mean,
It's crazy
I've
people
been in
don't do that.
situations like that before, but I didn't complain because it was either that or an hour school bus ride to and an hour and 10-minute school bus ride back, dude. My school days when I was in high school, or like through elementary and then in middle school, were hell, bro. So the moment, I don't care whose car it's in, dude. You can let me get in a car and I get to 20-minute there and back instead of like losing an extra hour and 20 minutes of my life. Like, I could care less what your car smelled like, dude. So many times I was like getting, you know, trips and rides from people until I eventually had my own car. And I would say I don't even really care as much about the chewing of the nails. You know what bothers me? It's like people who have like the super flaky skin. Like when their hands are cracked and it feels like no matter like the person's moving
Like
and it's like I
eczema.
can literally see the follicles of skin like just like coming off of them. Now, I'm around this a lot because, like, I did a lot of machining and stuff. So, dude, I'd be around guys all the time who are just like, who are like either covered in dirt or like they got like the calluses, their skin's just cracked, they have like this bad skin. And dude, there's a guy I used to work alongside. I don't know what he really had, but it was like, dude, he could just like scratch anywhere, and it's all of a sudden it's like, like fluffing. What's that called? It's like
Shedding.
There's a name for it, but it's a common thing, especially as you get older. Oh my gosh, I can't think of what it's called. But it's
Molting?
gross, dude. No.
They're
No, there's
like a
a
moth.
not eczema. I know eczema does affect people. There's something. It's not like I don't even know if it's considered a disease. I think it's just considered like a condition. I think maybe I'm thinking of psoriasis. I think that's what I'm thinking of.
Psoriasis.
Yeah. So I've always been super, super, super like I'm the guy getting the Head and Shoulders DX Plus. Like I'm, you know, getting the you know, all of the other stuff too. Like, bro, like completely just like that stuff makes me feel disgusting, dude. Like literally makes
my dandruff shampoo is the same stuff they use to get barnacles off of like cargo ships and stuff. It's what they use to clean whales after an oil spill.
That's crazy. Just gone, dude. Everything that was there is now dead. I wouldn't
exactly.
Be
That's
myself.
the reason I haven't gone bald yet is because it's like I just wash my hair in preservatives. You know, like it kills all living organisms.
You don't even have real hair anymore.
It's like my hair hasn't even grown since I was 16 years old. It's like vampiric. You know, it doesn't shed, but it doesn't grow.
Yeah. Well, what's funny?
Natural wig.
Well, yeah, with like man, I was trying to think of what was around. I had a friend that had eczema, I wasn't particularly too close with him at all. But like, I mean, he basically had to wear like long sleeves all the time. You know, long sleeves, jeans. And it was kind of it like would kind of suck because you would see him. I remember like when we were younger too. He was in we like in middle school, and it's like a hot, super hot day. You know, we were supposed to be playing outside, doing recess or whatever, and he's like outside in jeans and a t-shirt. But even what was visible of his forearm was like beet red, and you could see like just flakes of skin were just coming down his arm like he was shedding like a snake. And it was just like you feel bad, but it's like it's so gross. It's like you can't. They're both competing. It's like, do I feel bad or I'm like, do I need to want to run away from this guy? But it is pretty nasty.
That's one of those where it's like I'm sure he is aware and embarrassed by it. It's the things like the BO where it's like they're not aware or they don't even care.
Yeah,
that's
they're
the
desensitized
like
to it.
truly offensive stuff. Yeah.
Reminds me of that meme, that one video of the kid who's like, the mom's like screaming at him like, wash your ass, you've been playing that game for like 48 hours. And it's like this weird sounding person. He's like, no,
wait.
I can't do it, Mom. It's so awkward and cringe. Like, what brings a person to that state? But we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna start the countdown for members only. So for any of you who would like to stay around with us for a casual conversation, I'm gonna put it to the members only live stream. Oh, forgive me, I did it again. It's the portrait mode, so I can't switch to members.
Oh no. Oh no.
I mean, we can still do call-ins if people want to call in. I guess we'll sit around and wait a little bit if anybody wants to.
Sure, we can wait a couple. Last time we did it, nobody called in. So I say you have 15 minutes to call in. Smelly balls. Well, I feel like a part of the reason that people didn't call in is because it wasn't members and they don't want it to be like public. You know what I mean?
That is true.
But either way, now that we've got all the Nicks, no, you're good, man. Now that we got all the Nick, you know, the Groyper report is basically over. Back to the Star Wars talk.
That's funny.
In the green room, me
before
and
we
Atlas
launched,
were, we were like right up against the clock. We were like Darth Bane, and okay, we gotta go. So,
yeah. I didn't even think about that. I didn't think about people being more willing though to call in because it's not fully public with like all the viewers. I didn't even think about that. It's my bad. To be specific, the reason it's not allowing me to go to members only is because I also activated the portrait stream, which is like the one you can see in like the shorts form on your phone. And I guess YouTube doesn't allow you to, I can't shut that one down and start a members only. Maybe I can. No, I can't. It's grayed out. That sucks.
Boo.
But regardless, we'll still do call-ins. We still have it.
That's why, because I feel like, because we had a conversation, it was a while ago now with Smelly Balls. And I think it was only because it was, members, it was private. He doesn't want his face being out there for the world to see, which I understand, because he looks like The Weeknd.
Yeah, that is true. I forgot about that. Yeah, man, no. What did I say the other day? Smelly Balls is like a lean maxed version of Basil. Bazillion Thought.
Who's
Bazillion Thought? You know who I'm talking about?
No, I know by name. Bazillion THOT? Why? Hey.
Wild. Listen, let me find him.
Chubby
find
Jared Kushner shoots back. I'm looking at, he's on X, I assume.
Yeah, he is.
Brazilian or
Bazillion,
like basil?
Like basil leaf.
Basil.
I'm trying to see if I can find a photo of him. Yeah, here he is. Here's a pinned one.
Yo. Oh, okay, you did say skinny.
Yes, I did. I said Smelly Balls reminds me of a lean max version of Bazillion Thought. This guy.
Here at the Betty and Basil show, we know the importance of
Dude. You bastard. Dude, this is okay. All right.
No, I'm just kidding. This is actually what I imagine when I see Marcus and Moto typing. He's like, he has to stand up again. He's got to go, you know, with his open chest V-neck flowing behind him. He slams his margarita out of the way and he says, "What are these Groypers talking about now?"
Oh my goodness.
He says in the house he's in alone.
Okay, all right.
I'm just kidding. But no, I just the facial structure from what I remember from Smelly. I'm not dissing. I'm not dissing, dude. I'm being very real. Smelly will never. I'm not trying to diss anybody. That's actually I said lean version.
So y'all got me, specifically Smelly got me last week with chubby Jared Kushner. And then I'm about to do you so wrong, Atlas. Forgive me, but
we going Cypher or are we going? Who we going?
Yeah. So
Okay.
you got to take the hat off. You got to take the hat off. He comes in the green room looking like
American History X, dude. Now I said, I said Thomas Sewell.
I said, yeah, you said Thomas Sewell. I said you look like Cypher from The Matrix. You know, the guy who betrays.
But Cypher looks like a Mongolian, dude. We saw these photos. You got to look at his facial hair structure.
The actor's Italian.
Is he Italian?
Something Oh yeah. Something. He was in Sopranos. He looked completely different, obviously, but yeah.
I think I'm much closer to like this. And I'm probably small. Make myself bigger. Like, no. He's got this Asian, like he's got the thin chin strap going on.
Okay, you got to find a picture of him when
Straight
he's
on?
outside of the Matrix. Yeah. Like see him when he's by the computer. Yeah.
Whoa. Oh, here's one.
Yeah. That's you, bro. Do you have any sunglasses?
They said it's the same picture.
Crazy.
That's funny.
That's
no, I think
crazy.
I'm closer to Ed Norton in American History X. I think this is a much
your facial hair is, but like your faces don't look anything alike. Like your structure looked more like the Cypher guy.
Yeah, I would.
You know,
I'd like to see is if
you
Thomas
guys got
Sewell had
like
a
bigger
goatee.
noses. Yeah,
That's more straight on. I didn't want to see none of that. Let me open this in a new tab.
Someone says Anton Lavey.
Call Prosopa. They said Prosopa already did
Someone
one for
says,
me.
yeah, call Prosopa. Oh, he did?
Mm-hmm.
I'd be too afraid for him to do it on me.
Diamond is what I got for head shape. I don't remember anything beyond that though. I should have remembered.
Yo,
who's Anton?
I just looked him up. He's like a Satanist. He looks like who I said earlier. You look like Rasputin from Hellboy.
From Hellboy.
1. Yeah.
What's his name? Grimory Rasputin.
It's the facial hair. This guy looks way more Arabian. I don't know. He
does.
He
Everybody
looks
calls
like
me
Ben
Albanian,
Kingsley.
I guess.
Wherever Ben Kingsley is from, that's what this guy looks like.
You know what's crazy? It's how I get wider with the hat off. Look at this.
You do though.
Is this not crazy? Like white?
For real though.
Definitely white, dude.
Yeah.
White? Like question mark? Like white? White with a period at the end. Like that. Oh, that's white. That's capital W white.
You don't look like Lenin. Someone said you look like a Lenin.
Vladimir Lenin? No. Well, I guess Vladimir was bald.
Hey, we will not all bald people look alike, okay? Just because the hair is gone There is a
Okay, yeah.
difference in the facial structure.
Lenin's like, I do not look like Lenin. Lenin's like aged, bro. And he also had a bit more of like the tuft on his hair. He tried to keep his a lot longer than I did mine.
I'm not gonna lie though, Lenin kind of mogs.
Of course he does, dude. It's Vladimir Lenin.
Of course, yeah.
You don't wield that much power without mogging, dude.
No, yeah, you gotta.
Yeah,
Who is
the Midwest farmer look
my
over the Nazi look? Okay. We're taking tickets now. We're taking numbers. The poll.
I was also
the first time I shaved my head, my wife literally looked at me and she was like, "This is not going to beat the skinhead allegations." I was like, I don't even care. I don't care. Yeah, Lenin's more Sam Hyde. Yeah. Like Lenin's got more of a scrunched face. You guys aren't seeing it. Let me put it on screen for you.
You're thinking of Trotsky. Trotsky looks like
that's
Sam
who I'm
Hyde.
thinking of. You're right. Yeah, boy. Open image in new tab. How do I do this?
Yeah.
Like Sam Hyde reincarnated, dude. No, or I should say Trotsky reincarnated as Sam Hyde. The glasses too. The glasses really sell it.
It's the glasses.
Now, what you'll notice here is these are the squint glasses. I don't know if you guys know that these were a thing, by the way. Because there was a short period of time between the monocle and glass lenses that was like the squint glasses, which you would specifically have to maintain a squint to keep the metal pinched between the top of the bridge of your nose and where your eyebrows at. I think that's what they called them too, right? Squint glasses.
That's so crazy. Can you imagine? It's like, I don't want it to look like I need spectacles to see, so I'm going to have as little extra matter on my face as possible to where I'll have to maintain a squint all day. And then 100 years later, you've got all these liberal dweebs with box glasses that look like they were the first glasses ever made. I'd just go with a monocle, dude.
There's like a name for them, though. At least I thought. It says Prince Nez. Glasses are to be called Prince Nez or just armless glasses. Yeah, from the French pincer to pinch and nez to nose. Are spectacles that clip directly onto the bridge of the nose without sidearms. They were dominant eyewear style in the U.S. from 1880 to 1920, accounting for over 2/3 of all glasses sold during that period. There are two main historical styles: hard bridge and spring bridge. But yeah, in the midway period, in the evolution of eyewear, there was these glasses. And there's a lot of things like that too. I know we're like way off topic on that, but there's like other things like that too, that are just like, here's a thing that was like the midway phase before they eventually got the full thing, and you're like, wait, what? People used to do what? Holy shit! You're like, that even was a thing? Like, that doesn't make any sense. It's like, no wonder it only lasted 10 years. Many stuff like that. But no, nobody wants to call in. Nobody wants to smoke, they said. That's crazy, dude. That was pretty active tonight. You guys be quiet now.
Yeah, that was and here's the thing, y'all don't even have to show your face. Like, you can call in and we'll just have your audio on.
Yeah.
We
will get voice.
We do it on outside.
You can do without the face.
Someone says Trotsky looks like Matan. I like how they say Trotsky looks like Matan.
Yeah. What even is Matan, by the way? Like, what even is he?
He's everybody, dude. He's all of them.
Like,
I know people say he's like Jewish, but he almost looks like Spanish or something. I don't know. Like, he's got like I know Puerto Rican kids that look like him.
Jewish. And he was born to Israeli parents.
He goes, I'm not Jewish.
Yeah. And he speaks Hebrew. Yeah. His
Crazy.
primary heritage is literally Israeli Jewish. So take that.
Is he to be trusted?
No. no. No.
Dude.
Not even a question.
So since this is kind of like the after stream,
Yeah.
and we're just shooting the shit here, really waiting for people to not call in.
Right.
Remember, you and Zeb did a somewhat of a deep dive on John Kiriakou.
Kiriakou. I know.
like
I messed it up many times. Trust me.
But John he
John KKK.
like I've seen clips of him before and stuff, and I watched your video on him, but like I've been seeing more clips of him now. This is the gayest man I've ever seen. This is like Zeb was kind of giving him credit when y'all did your video saying he's a good storyteller. And I won't say he's not, but he's like, he has the like storytelling acumen of a man, but with the types of stories that girls like gossip. You know what I mean? It's like when a man gossips, like girls gossip, and it's just like, and when he's like, that's only something Benjamin Netanyahu could say. You know, it's it's the most like obvious lies I've ever seen. It's like, it's so crazy. Like, you remember, what was a week or two ago, Tucker went on with that New York Times reporter or whatever it was, but he did that interview where they interviewed him, and she was asking him about Buckley and his, what happened with him in Vance, all that stuff. And it's like, when you see Tucker not doing a monologue and like he's being interviewed, the inauthenticity, it just like bleeds through the screen. It's like, I don't know how anyone buys this.
Well, I mean, think about all the ones that he was popular for, is all the TikTok ones, and more they are popular for him. They're putting emphasis on his voice and whatnot. The voice filter was funny, but many of them, like, was always followed. He would say something and he would follow it up with like what you were saying, like the kind of the girl cadence of, and you can't be doing that here. There's only one way you would have been able to get that idea. What do you, he's like, he's adding like the emotional expression on like his exasperation with stuff, and different things like that. And again, it's also because, I mean, girls are super into true crime, and that's basically like, he's just a couple shades of color away from all of his CIA and, intelligence operation stories are just a stone's throw away from that. So it's going to have the similar kind of structures to it of the build up, the disbelief, and it also has layered on top of it is, it's like, and this is your government authorities who did that. And it's like, it's even more unbelievable because a guy in a black suit did something degenerate. And it's like, I don't know how that gets people excited, but it's all inside of that. And that's what he's out there for, right? That's just kind of his main positioning. This is the same guy who was willing to back up Dan Bilzerian, but said Nick Fuentes is hateful, right? The guy is clearly here to manipulate and move markets. He's not here to actually do anything meaningful.
Well, and it's so funny. Like, that's just one of those things where it's like the slop is so obvious. Like, did I tell you, I was at like a wedding, and this older guy, like I've known him my whole life. He's from my church, but he was like, there's this podcast you should check out, Josh. It's really, really informative and entertaining. I got to remember its name. It's the All In podcast. And I was like, how people actually watch that?
Yeah.
These gay billionaires just like, oh my gosh. And then one day we'll have warp drives and we'll be able to go to Saturn on vacations. And, and it's like, this is made up. Yeah. Like all of this. I have that discussion. I don't know what you think about this specifically, but I'm kind of in Sam Hyde's camp on the AI stuff. Like, it's a myth. It is not possible, the kind of things that they say it can do.
I don't think so. I think it's really only a matter of time. To be honest with you, now you could be correct on the fact that it's far away. Certain things are far away, and I think, again, trying to predict AI as chaotic as it is, I think it's just an impossible thing to do, anyways. But on some of this stuff, I mean, we've already seen huge predictions already go out the window, right? Some of the leading experts on what the AI stuff was it's going to be going, like I talked about this, I think yesterday, right? Automation was looked at. They were looking at things like, simple tasks, simple kind of factory or assembly tasks that are ultimate. If they can get systems, they can produce them at scale, they can industrialize it. Well, then boom, you're going to have line workers just disappearing. And that wasn't who lost their job. It was graphic designers, it was artists, it was white collar positions. It's wiped out the market completely on freelance places, like whether it's Fiverr or elsewhere, because it's you can get a picture generated exactly the way you would want to, with all the kind of craziness you would like to see in it at the tip of your fingers. And there's like 9 different programs that give you 5 images for completely free. And if you don't like any of the results on one website, you just go over to the next one. And so it has basically eliminated basically a small subset of people who relied on that for their income or commissioning kind of art projects based on creator propositions and stuff. So I think a lot is yet to be seen on that. And I do think that overall there's probably a bubble of types. And I think that bubble is though specific to OpenAI and like the Ellison involvement. I don't think that means the entirety of AI. And it also presents itself again in the managerial aspect as well. I've been seeing this getting sold and shipped. I even worked alongside a company that was actually getting ready to bring these things on. And it's basically AI employees. And these people are basically paying for AI agents. And so you basically are buying employees. It's being sold to people who have small businesses and are looking to expand, but don't have the money to, quickly be able to hire somebody. But these are like high grade. You get one-on-one support with the people who provide the data and the operation for the AI, the specific agent. And instead of having, I mean, if you can pay $600 a month for an AI agent to do your accounting or whatever else you're going to be hiring it in to do, whether it's analytics or something else to that effect, $600 a month is still less than a week's worth of 40 hours at 20 bucks an hour wage for a singular W-2 employee. And so these things are presenting themselves in ways that other, business owners are going out of their way to do things like that. So I think we need to wait and see on it ultimately with the AI. But I'm much more of a doomer on AI than I think the average person is.
My mindset on it is I actually recorded a video. I've been editing it where I talk about the hard problem of consciousness, because like I'm I've talked about that with you, how it's like I want to do more content, but kind of like just the stuff I'm interested in, not just politics. So I was like reviewing a video.
Yeah.
Anyway, but my point being is like, I think the cap on AI, we're closer to its peak than we think we are. Now I do, because I'll acknowledge the business that I've been working on, the logo for it that I made it with ChatGPT in one try. I literally typed in exactly what I wanted and it spit it out perfectly.
Yep.
And no Fiverr, no graphic designers were involved at all. And so I definitely think like that's there, but like I think it's only as good as the people putting into it, and at the end of the day, it's still people putting into it. So I'm mainly getting at this idea, this like sci-fi level idea of artificial intelligence, where it's going to be able to like replace doctors, and it's going to solve world hunger and all this stuff. Like, I don't believe that, unless it's just straight up demonically possessed, and it's all part of the end of days. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know about the ending of world hunger, but the former you mentioned is actually one of the bigger AI projects out right now, with developing a very meticulous and precise surgical bot. And this is actually meant to be able to replace, which is, a lot of like these like surgeons, they like their whole careers are over if they have like, wrist damage, right? Or like they suffer some kind of like they break their arm, or like they mangle a finger, because if these surgeons who need to be extremely precise, they lose even a slight bit of their motor skill inside of their hand. I mean, it's like they're basically out. You got to find somebody else. And so all of that skill, all of that knowledge that's stored in the human can be rendered null if their motor skill's been eliminated. So there's been a lot of videos. I forget which company's been doing this, but they've actually been having a heart surgeon actually train it by doing procedures. Is this the same video, if you've ever seen it, of a heart surgeon who is folding origami using the robot? You ever seen that? Have you seen that video?
Mm-hmm.
And he's
Yeah.
like, it's like using like chopsticks and making like precise. Now, obviously, that's a little bit different than doing surgery, but that's one of the main things they're going for. And I think a lot of these AI businesses are trying to find like situations like that that would be a huge boon to the industry. Because a lot of the times for people like getting surgery and stuff, you got to wait until like there's a surgeon available. And in America, it's less of a problem, but in other areas around the world, that'd be a huge thing to sell. I mean, in a country that maybe only has like 40 heart surgeons in it, or something to that effect, that would be something government would invest in. They would buy that from America. They would buy these surgeon bots would help eliminate a human problem. But I do see AI being a lot more involved. But like I said at the beginning, I think it's a time scale thing. I mean, is the expectation that that we're gonna go to war before AI continues to progress? I think the concept here is that we are always progressing. Things are always moving in a specific direction. And I think if you have that in mind, I think it's only a matter of time. So maybe, world hunger won't be solved in the next 100 years, 200 years. I think it's a different equation when you're looking at over a millennia, like thousands of years.
To me, it's not so much a. It's how the technology works. So like, for example, I'm sure you've heard of the what do you call it? Neuralink. Elon Musk Neuralink.
Yeah.
And what you listen to him talk about it on Joe Rogan, and what he says is it's going to be like you'll be able to integrate your consciousness with a computer. You'll be able to share memories with other people. And it's not just like seeing what they saw. It's like feeling their feelings. And it's this true integration between two separate minds into one like conscious experience. And it's like, wow, how are you going to do that? And then you actually listen to how the technology works. It doesn't integrate with the brain at all. It's basically just taking an MRI and making it like active rather than passive.
Mm-hmm.
Because what the mesh does is it wraps around the brain and it monitors the brain activity. It does not actually meaningfully integrate with the brain because it can't. It would destroy it. And to me, that's kind of the point. Is it's like it can do things like you can control a mouse on a screen with your mind. You can make a computer do basic functions, but can you like upload memories and stuff? It's just like by the nature of the technology.
Well, but think about what you're saying.
There's a cap.
15 years ago, you tell somebody you can put something into your brain and you can control your computer by thinking about it. They would have told you were insane. That's sci-fi. You know what I mean? So we've already made it this far. And I think again, all these kind of predictions remove the technological exponential factor and also just the general human innovation factor. That's kind of what's always been driving humans forward, is the innovation element of it, of humans finding very innovative ways to find workarounds for solutions. Same way, like, think it's like it's the horse example, right? It was as everybody in the cities, as like the cities are getting bigger and bigger, and there's horse poop all over the place, and people are getting angry. They're like, we got to figure out, we need to start hiring like horse sanitizers. Like, we got to start getting more medical people out here because of all of the, all the horse everywhere. And then Ford makes the car. And then it's no longer a problem. And then all of a sudden, technologically, it starts to begin to exponentially boost into a different direction. Now boosting in terms of, for one, the ease of access to get them. It wasn't at first, but then it later came. And then second to that, it was also the speed of which. Now everything's a little bit faster. Traffic becomes a little bit faster. And, there's like innovations on innovations that you can't really predict for because of the way that technology advances in and of itself.
Well, and that's kind of my point, is it's like this sort of and listen, I'm a sci-fi nut. I love the idea of all this advanced technology and whatnot, but I think the problem with this idea is that there is a cap on innovation. There is a cap on physical rules. It's like, why? Okay, so our cars have 4 wheels. Well, I want to get to where I'm going faster. Why don't we put 6 on them? There's a reason cars don't have 6 wheels, is because it basically adds nothing to it. There's like, it's like I use my car to get from my house to my work, and it takes 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, how about if it took 10 seconds? Maybe one day we'll get there. Like, back when we had horses, it would have taken an hour, but now it only takes 10 minutes. Maybe one day it'll take 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Well, there's a cap.
Well,
but my point being is,
you just
maybe
said
you
it
could go
yourself.
to work. Huh?
Like with the horses had the same thing. Horses were ridden, raw essentially, until they later discover with horseshoes, right? And they find better methods of which to maintain the horses, clean their hooves, keep them healthier longer. Then you have other developments like horse blinds, right? Because horse blinds were designed to keep horses
But
from not being spooked or distracted.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
But my point is that a car is a different technology than a horse.
Right.
And my thing is it's like, so let's just say, let's play this out. Let's say, okay,
Yeah.
I want to get to work as fast as possible. I don't care if it's a car, plane, or teleporter.
Mhm.
So let's say we can, there's theoretically, it's possible to invent a teleporter where I can hop in this elevator type thing, and I come out of a different one in my job. You know what I mean? Like an elevator.
Theoretically possible to transfer
is
matter. At the particle level is theoretically possible, but our ability to actually conduct it is not possible.
And that's my
currently.
point. I was actually, it's funny, I actually sent the video to my dad this morning. It's theorized by physicists that the warp drive from Star Trek is possible. It's called the Alcubierre warp drive, where a physicist named Alcubierre is Spanish. He theorized mathematically as this is it is actually possible to create a warp drive. But then when you look at the variables, it's like in theory, yes, but the amount of energy that it would take to function is more energy than there is in the universe as a whole. And so my point being is that it's theoretical, but it's also impossible. And that's my point, is it's maybe there's a better way and a faster and more efficient way of getting to work than a horse and buggy. It's called a car.
Mm.
But there is a point where you run into a wall.
So why would a different
And
technology?
I'm not saying you can. I'm not saying don't strive. I'm not saying if we can't figure some things out. But my point is this: it's why can't Neuralink connect to our brain? Because our brain is not like a computer where there's a USB cable. You know what I mean? It's a highly complex organ that we don't even fully understand. And these connections and by the very nature of the brain, it's not designed for outside things to start messing with it. You know what I mean? That's why half of the monkeys that they test this on die anyway. But even how it's designed is it's not even supposed to integrate with the brain, because that's not possible yet.
Yeah.
And I know, but my point being is I don't think it's possible at all.
Yeah, and I find that to be, so the general way I've always looked at things is, especially in probability, holding something to an absolute and a firm zero always tends to be typically further from the truth than believing in a small percent chance. Right. So holding to that's kind of an absolute, saying that there is a wall somewhere that innovation can no longer out innovate itself, or things certainly can't be progressed beyond. And I think you would be true in the sense of there would be a limit in terms of the physics of our reality. But I think majority of scientists would tell you that what we understand about the world around us is a mere fraction of what is actually out there. And so I think when we have the admission of what is, how to engage in physics, right? We talk about things like quantum physics and our inability to explain all of the different dimensions of things like black holes or wormholes or things of that nature. I think it implies that there is many schools of thought that haven't even been touched yet, haven't even been thought of yet. And I think you can see that too in the fact that some things build upon themselves, right? Like, think about what, even if you were to go in the sci-fi example, it it is like, imagine if we were able to develop something that was similar to a propulsion engine, right? Something that was a propulsion engine capable of breaking out into Earth's atmosphere. And you also, things that like they're already trying to build right now, like with Tesla. Before it was like our rocket builds we'd send in shuttles were very specifically built. It would have like three or four different phases, and each layer of the rocket would fall away to mitigate for different kinds of weights and trajectory and to get the ship through the atmosphere. The same way could be applied to like the evolution of propulsion engine, right? If you can get a better way to burn energy, maybe you find out that there's other materials or other chemical compositions that burn at different ways, and then the propulsion engine, once it gets mastered, well, then now you start looking at like what's the add-ons, can you add on to it, and it just kind of continually builds and builds and builds. Um, but I just think in a
Well,
small
yeah.
enough
So
timeline, yeah. Like if you were limiting it to tomorrow, like can AI solve the world by tomorrow? Of course not. Can AI solve the world in 5 years from now? Of course not. But I think when you put it on an infinite timeline. I don't think you can say that it's an absolute no. I think that's like a harder thing to put your foot down on.
and I'm saying you can. And my point being is this, is it's like we exist in a physical world with physical rules. So there's a
Yep.
reason that like when I run, I don't just keep accelerating. You know what I mean? And so my point being is like, if you think about it, what is a propulsion engine? Or what is a rocket? You know what I mean? It burns fuel, shoots it out the back at high energy, high velocity, propelling the rocket forward. Okay, well, we needed to go faster. Let's experiment with new types of fuels. Okay, we got that. We got this new type of fuel. Well, there's a finite amount of what am I thinking? The periodic table of elements. There's a finite amount of materials in the universe. Eventually, you will come to the best combination. And whatever that speed gets you to is the fastest a propulsion engine can go. Eventually, you will come to the most aerodynamic shape, the fastest and best fuel efficient fuel, and so on and so forth. And you can say, okay, well, no physical object can move faster than the speed of light. How do we get around that? Well, we have a warp drive. It warps the space. It shrinks the space in front of the craft. It expands the space behind it, allowing it to basically ride onto this wave of space faster than the speed of light. So it's not moving faster than light, but it is traveling faster than light. All right, problem solved. How do we build one of those? Well, the energy requirements are more energy than every star in the entire universe. Can we build something that would make that level of energy? No.
Yeah. I guess one thing I would throw back, even just in the most slightest, most shallow pushback of all time on there, is that there is hardly and rarely strong scientific consensus on any things like that, right? Which would be that there
That's
are many
because
people in those
scientists are
fields.
gay.
Well, so it's funny because it's like you bring up the horse and how the car replaced it, but then deny that something could replace the car. You know what I
Something
mean?
could replace the car.
Right. That's like I'm saying. Like, I think there's already kind of thoughts and processes about that, right? With like things like bullet trains and stuff. And that's what I mean. It might not be. It might not be that they're going to add a jetpack to the car. It may be that the car becomes obsolete. Something else replaces it entirely. It's the same way I would imagine, like with AI. You're already seeing these developments. Instead of it being certain modes and scripts of AI, now we're seeing there's different AI agents. And then especially with Grok, Grok's went now from using one AI agent to operate and disseminate information in a specific way. Now multiple AI agents are working all at once to give a more comprehensive and well-rounded response to whatever you're asking. And perhaps that's the direction it goes. Perhaps it goes in the direction of AI domains and networks and mesh nets of multiples and multiples of AI agents working together. I think you are too, what's the word? I don't even know what the word that I'm word that I'm looking for, but too confident. Too what's the word I'm looking for? Too
self-assured.
it's
My
it's the
boss
word I'm
says
looking
the
for.
same
It's
thing.
too confident on something you know very little about. There's a specific word that I'm looking for. Or like maybe it's a phrase I'm thinking of. But it's much like in the same way that I sit here and I go like, there's way more that I don't know than what I do know. And I think that's true of the entirety of the human race. And so for me to
I
sit here
agree.
and say like,
And
we know
so
20% of the world has to offer, let alone the other 80% of our own world. And then add on top of that, we have now even begun exploring well beyond our own solar system. And then let it go. What was it?
so
So I want you to know that we discovered an element in 2009. So like you say the period of elements is finite. It's not. I mean, how, and I think prior to that, there was one that was discovered. I think prior to that, it was like you would have been in uranium. And
now I want to
no,
be I want
organocin in 2002. So like, to say all that, it's like, it was finite. I'm sure that's what the scientists said before they found the new one 2 years later. And now he's looking like,
now this
cool.
is I want to be very clear here because I don't think you're understanding what I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm not saying that our understanding of physics and the universe and the mysteries of like propulsion and warp drive, all this stuff. I'm not saying that we know everything and that we don't have stuff to learn. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that there's something more advanced and more efficient than a car. There very well might be.
Okay.
There might be a way to get Neuralink to integrate with the brain. I don't think so, but there might be. My point being is that you have don't break it down to like the car and the warp. Think of it like
no. I hear what you're saying.
I'm not saying
You're saying
I'm not
at some
saying,
point there will be a limit. At some point
Yes.
you will not be able to innovate or expand beyond where
yes.
you are.
So
But my point
we
back to
might
you
be
is
discovering new elements, but
right.
we live in a finite universe. We know there is a limited amount of elements.
Right. So hear
There
me, because
absolutely
I perfectly
must
hear what
be.
you're saying. So hear me back.
Okay.
My response back to that is, if you can admit and acknowledge that we don't even know how much we don't know, then who are you to say where we are on the timeline of finishing the human progression time, human progression, if it was a progress bar? Because if we're in the position we can acknowledge we don't know how much we don't know, who's to say
Right.
we're only 3% in of discovering anything versus we're 3% away from discovering it all? It's like, that's the thing, right? We don't know where we are.
And that's my point. Is that's exactly what I'm saying. You're affirming my point.
Yeah.
I can't tell you where on the bar we are, but the fact that it is a bar shows you that there is an end point.
But my point back was you were saying the cars. You're like, surely there might be something after the car. And you're also saying that AI, you don't believe it can solve world hunger. But what if we are at the 3% mark? What if you could take everything humanity is right now, and that actually is only 3% of discovering everything in the universe? I think that's a pretty far bit away to say that AI couldn't solve world hunger. It's like it's in the fact that I can recognize I don't know where we are on that I think there's a healthy percent chance that there is an insane amount of innovation down the road, which I can also recognize perhaps there isn't. But I think to hold to an absolute on it, I think is the faulty premise. I would say I think there's evidence of what you're saying, and I think there's enough reasonable doubt that you can say perhaps there is. Perhaps we are only on level 1. Perhaps there is level 12. Perhaps there's level 12,000. But I think the reality is we just don't know because we're not all knowing.
And my thing is well, let me just get this,
Okay.
because I feel like we're talking. I'm enjoying the conversation, by the way, but I feel like we're talking past each other. Do
Okay.
you accept that there is a limit to what humans can accomplish through innovation and technology? Like, do you think it's possible that humans could completely master the physical world and become like godlike? We can like enter creative mode and then just
Well-
like do whatever we want?
Well, in terms of like, I think I would distinguish between technological advancement and something like what you're saying, which would be like a transcendence of some kind of like transhumanist or
But that's my point. Is it like
ascended kind of viewpoint, I guess.
do you? Okay, let's break this down a little bit.
I'm hearing what you're saying.
So
But what you're asking me, I guess I would say
I'll
is,
acknowledge.
you would
I'll
have to
acknowledge
say-
when it comes to are there life on other planets? Are there other Earth-like planets out there? What does the edge of the universe look like? Is there an edge of the universe? I don't know.
Right.
But what I can tell you is there is no such thing as blue-red. There is no such thing as a square circle. We can come to conclusions through logical inference. Once you define what a square is, and
Yeah.
once you define what a circle is, you can say there is a square and there is a circle.
well,
There is no square circle.
you would admit that there is a fourth plane. Would you admit there's a fourth dimension? That there's a higher
Yes.
plane of existence?
Yes.
Well, that in of itself
okay, but
foretells
again,
that we
no,
are.
no,
we
no,
can.
no, no.
It is like
No, no,
impossible.
no, no,
You
no.
cannot
You're-
even
you're-
say.
This is my point. Is it's like I'm talking about a two-dimensional square.
Okay.
A two-dimensional square and a two-dimensional circle cannot be the same thing. Right?
I agree. My point
Okay.
back to you, which you seem to keep ignoring, is that to say that there's no further, that there's nothing else to advance, is to also then say we have discovered it all. We have seen it all. We know every element in the universe. We've tried every combination of every element in the universe. We've seen every sun. Like you would have to have everything in front of you. You would have to have all the information, and we don't, and perhaps we never will. And to your point about the universe, we have theories that look at the universe, that it's consistently expanding. And so if the universe, there's also an
Right.
element in there, which is to say that if the universe maintained an ability to expand well beyond our ability to actually explore space, we could be in an infinite period of never being able to say that, which is to say that the universe is consistently opening itself up. And I say that as you look at 2009 was like the last element that was discovered. Before that, it was 2002. And it's like, well, how many other years are separating in there? When's who's to say we don't discover one in 2040? Who's to say we don't discover one in 2050?
Vibranium.
Well, you would also then have to say that, like in what you were saying there, you'd also have to say that you would also have to stake on that every molecule, every element that makes up our solar system and our planetary system and our galaxy is also going to be what consists in every other galaxy and every other part of the universe. And I don't think you can say that. I think there's an extremely high chance and high probability that there are some elements that we have never encountered because humans have been unable to develop technology to put them in the places that they would need to be able to be in to experience or be around said elements or said new things. And who's to say that those new elements don't possess qualities of which we can't even begin to comprehend? So it's in that it's like there's a mountain of what we possibly don't know. Right? There's thing about Job. Right? And the example in Job.
Atlas.
Getting like the whisper.
Atlas. I get it, but just bear with me, please.
Yeah.
God created this universe.
Yeah.
With rules, up is down, there's gravity, there's the strong nuclear force, the weak nuclear force, electromagnetic force.
Yeah.
There's barrier, there's rules to the simulation, so to speak, right?
So let me ask you this. Is gravity the same rate of speed on Earth as it is on Mars?
It's not.
Okay, and why is that?
Well, I assume you mean like it's not the same force. It's not as strong as it is on
the gravity. I'm talking about, well,
gravity is weaker on the moon because the moon has less mass.
correct.
Is that what you're getting at?
But there's also more at play here because what are they in orbit of?
The sun.
Right. And the sun is in our galaxy is in
Our galaxy is in what? The universe? Is that
well, I mean it is in the universe, but what orients our galaxy?
a
If
black
everything
hole
else
at
is
the center?
oriented right. So here we are. So we've already a few questions in, we've already found, and there's different theories of what orients the galaxy. I do think that our galaxy is actually moving. I forget what direction and
It
how.
is.
But that's just, I mean, just inside of that, it's like, yeah, we understand how the rules operate here, but when you begin to enter in other variables, you begin to
That's a good comment, Smelly Balls. That's funny.
He says I thought we were playing chess.
No. His one before that.
Space is fake and gay.
No. He had another one.
Oh, we need the Groypers. What was that one?
No. Shut up. It was the color of a blaster bolt depends on the type of gas that is introduced.
Interesting. Is that
you know
Star
what he's
Wars
referencing, right? Yes. I was disappointed to find out that yes, the blaster bolts are gas and they're not actually light.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they emit light, but gay. That's gay.
Yeah.
But so okay, but that's actually a good point. So you would contend that our universe follows rules. There's a reason that the sun and the planets are spherical and not square.
Mm-hmm.
They follow physical laws. So think of it like a chessboard. There is no, like, you could play chess your whole life and never run out of options, but there is a finite amount of plays and moves on a chessboard.
Say that again.
You could play chess your entire life and never play the same game twice, but there is a finite amount of moves and plays that you can do on a chessboard.
Correct.
Right. So my point is that, like, let's just put yourself in God's shoes.
Okay.
We don't know the extent of knowledge about the universe and what could be achieved through technology or physical means or whatever, but God does, right? Is there a cap to God's knowledge?
Well, God is Logo. God is.
Exactly. So my point is like, with the rules established in this universe, there's only so much you can do.
But you're implying that they are.
Don't think about the specifics. Just think about the concept.
Okay.
Assuming the rules of the universe are as they have always been, and that God doesn't change them or whatever, it just is. It just keeps going. There is a fastest way. There is a best way to build the fastest car. Right?
Yeah.
And that's my point. I agree that we don't know if a teleporter is possible. I believe we don't know with certainty that a warp drive is possible or not. I'm not saying I know that for certain, but what I'm saying is we can discuss it. We can discuss it without appealing to, oh, well, maybe one day we'll figure it out. But what if we can't? That's what I'm saying, is I think it's okay to say that I think there's a cap and maybe we're closer to it than we think. So and I'm not even saying you believe this, but I get what you're saying, where you're arguing, well, what if we're only 3% of the way?
Right.
But to say we're at 3% implies there's a 100%.
I already
agree
with
us both. So with us both acknowledging that, we can have debates about what percentage we're at without saying, well, we just don't know. You know what I mean?
So what's the percentage?
So my point being is, like, that all of this is a huge aside to say, when I bring up why I don't like, I bring up why Neuralink won't work.
Yeah.
And the response is, well, we don't know everything yet. You're not really engaging with what I'm saying. Does that make sense?
But what you're saying is an absolute, that's what you're proposing. So your belief comes
What I-
from the
yes.
belief. Again, you are assuming that we are closer to the end of that progress bar. The assumption
Mhm.
that leads you to make that claim is that we're at like the 99% spot on the bar. And in that final 1%, it's not going to be anything that makes Neuralink greater than. Okay? My
Yeah.
point back to you was I think it's arrogant to make the assumption. That has
It
been
is.
the position the entire
And
time. So you don't know if
I'm
what you're
doing it.
seeing is half of the chessboard, if it's one piece of the chessboard, if it's not even the
Atlas-
chessboard, or if it's the timer. My thing,
I want to
I'm
shoot
asking
you with
you,
a gun.
what is
I'm
the percentage
saying
then?
Is
What's
neither
the
of us
percentage?
know. What I'm saying is that neither of us know what the percentage is.
Okay.
But we can have a debate about where we are without saying,
for the 10th
well,
time.
you don't know and I don't know.
For the 10th time. What then leads you to believe? What is giving you the belief
Okay.
of where you are assuming the percentages?
Okay. So I'll tell you this. Let me we've come up with a couple examples. I'll use Neuralink for example.
Okay.
So kind of like what I brought up earlier with there's no such thing as a square circle. There's no such thing as red blue. You can combine red and blue to make purple, but there is no such thing as red blue. It's logically impossible. Right?
I would have to ask in
God
what way.
dang
I
it.
would have to like
Atlas,
impossible.
this fucking guy.
The impossible implies, like, again, you're saying red blue. Who's to stop some random idiot putting taking a square?
The fact that he's
and
an
putting
idiot.
one red and one blue. But okay, so I'm asking you for clarification. I need to know what you mean by impossible. What specifically is impossible? Not a general,
Okay.
Not the general, because you keep calling back to the vague absolute that I already agree with you on.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
So do you, all right, we'll put it this way. I'm trying to think of an example of a paradox. Do you know any? I mean, to me, to say a red blue is paradoxical. But what's a good example of a paradox? They're doing in chat, they're in towers, or they're doing their best attempt at it.
I know, I see it. It's awesome. We love it. Isn't Schrodinger's cat a paradox?
No, that's not. That's not quite what I'm
gonna ask Rock
getting at.
Examples of paradoxes.
Okay.
I fucked it up on purpose.
Do you think that someone can be conscious and unconscious at the same time? Do you think someone can be awake and asleep at the same time?
I'm pretty sure. Well, what's a coma?
They are not conscious.
Right. So it would imply, I mean, so conscious and unconscious is also defined by its relation in comparison to the opposition.
All right.
So it's not a paradox.
Atlas,
it could not be.
Can you give me an example? And I'll use your example to explain my thought process. Give me an example of a logical impossibility, of a paradox of some kind. The simplest one I can come up with is a two-dimensional square is not the same as a two-dimensional circle. And I'm not talking about fourth dimension. I'm talking about when we ignore the fourth and the third, and we only look at in two dimensions. A square is not the same as a two-dimensional circle. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Okay. The point being is that with that, you can argue from reason that certain things like that we can apply that same logical inference to things in this world. So, for example,
that's where I disagree.
That's where you disagree.
Mm-hmm. Is it because what? So so we're right. You were very specific.
Okay.
You were clarified, right?
All right. Time out.
In a 2D dimensional.
Time out real quick. Out real quick. So we'll bring it back to the cars thing. And then I'm really enjoying this. but it is
crazy.
11 o'clock, by the way.
Is it really?
But just hear me out. Just hear me out. Okay, so there's only so far and so fast a horse can go. So we want to move faster. What do? We invent cars. Okay, but there is such thing as the fastest horse, correct? And there is such thing as the fastest car. Maybe one day we'll invent personal like the Dune suspensor things where you can fly or whatever.
There's a paradox.
Or maybe one day we'll have teleporters.
Well, there's another
Right?
paradox, right? Which was to say, what if we took the same engine innovation for the car, and you made a mechanical horse, right? So my point being is, I think you're being exceptionally close-minded. And here's my example. You had mentioned the 2D dimensions, and you said because a two-dimensional square can never be a two-dimensional circle, that we can imply that concept can be transferred from the two-dimensional world to the three-dimensional world to the fourth-dimensional world to the fifth-dimensional world to the sixth-dimensional world. And you would have to say, well, what's the proof? What is your evidence that every 2D the 2D concept? But this is the point, because not every 2D concept is in real life. Not every 2D concept. We are again distinctly separating it by 2D, meaning these items are bound by the realities and laws and mechanics of a two-dimensional plane.
Mm-hmm.
A three-dimensional plane implies what? That there's an entire other dimension.
Right.
So to say that two-dimensional concept can and will always work in a three-dimensional world, I think that's insane. It's not to say that some wouldn't, but you are implying then an absolute, right? An absolute of 2D dimensional principles and concepts and ideas always functioning the same way in a three-dimensional world as they did in a two-dimensional world.
Atlas, I'm enjoying the conversation, really, but when you decide not to be a Reddit tier contrarian goofball just admit that the universe is finite and therefore we can draw inference from finitude on the cap to certain technology. Is your
premise here that paradoxes don't exist?
No, my premise is that paradoxes. Well, okay.
But here's my thing. Before you go,
they're
is
not
a paradox
real.
Not defined by the fact that it should not be happening by our understanding of reality.
Yes. So by that definition, yes.
So by the mere existence of a paradox,
but paradoxes don't exist.
I just asked you if paradoxes existed, and you said
they don't.
Yes. Okay, so Nate, see how you've had to move here? You've had to actually move that paradox don't exist?
No,
to maintain.
Atlas, I've been saying that paradoxes don't exist.
You asked me to find a paradox. You asked me to come up with an example of a paradox.
An example of a paradox, but to explain the concept to you, because every time I bring up a paradox is not a thing. A paradox is a word we've invented to describe contradictory concepts, and contradictory concepts don't exist. There is no such thing as a square circle. There is a color red and there is a color blue. Why is one called blue and the other called red? Because they are different, because they are not the same. Can something that is different be the same? No. That's my point, that paradoxes aren't real, and therefore you take that and you move it into the real physical world. There is a cap on how fast a car can go. A car is a machine that rotates its wheels to push off of the ground forward. There is an engine, there is fuel, and maybe we haven't discovered the fastest car yet, but there is one. There is theoretically a car that is so incredibly fast, but that is the fastest a car can go. And my point being is like, and why is it? Why is that? Because of the rules of physical laws that the car, of the universe that the car exists in. There's wind speed, there's air resistance, there's propulsion, there's torque, there's all these factors. There's all these rules and regulations. And my point being is that when those rules remain, if those rules remain constant, assuming God just doesn't, remove textures and just says infinite car speed, because I think God can, I think that the rules we exist in are arbitrary. I think that's what a miracle is God just removing those things.
Correct.
But I'm saying without interference from God, there is such thing as the fastest car. And my point being is we can theoretically come up with something like a warp with a warp drive, but if the energy requirements to make it work are more energy than there is in the whole universe, then it just can't work. That's my point.
But that's an assumption, right?
No, it's a fact. That's the whole point of me bringing this up is I'm not saying.
Oh my gosh. You're
saying that
talking,
I know all the factors.
Do you realize what you just said? That you are referencing scientists theorizing about a warp drive and their theoretical ideas of what it would be to of what it would be to actually power said warp drive, and you said it's a fact. That is ridiculous.
No. What I'm saying is this. I'm not saying that. Listen.
I'm listening. I'm not even allowed to talk.
Okay.
I'm waiting for you to.
Maybe
explain.
one day. Maybe one day.
Yeah.
The scientists will create some kind of workaround where we go, oh no, our math was wrong and we didn't need that much energy. We only you can power a warp ring with a nuclear reactor. You know what I mean? Maybe the current science is wrong. That's not. I agree wholeheartedly.
It's a great example.
But what I'm saying is that in a hypothetical situation where we did have all the factors, where there was no workaround, right? In the same way, there is a fastest car. We understand all of the we understand everything that goes into making a car and all the factors that slow down cars and whatever. If we had fully explored the universe somehow without a warp drive, but you get what I'm saying? If we had all the elements,
with everything you have said so far.
Okay. If we had all the information and it still didn't work, that's the cap, right?
You talking about the car?
Any of it. If there was a problem,
the moment this conversation happened, I agreed with you on what it means to be that there is a finite limit.
And
the only response back is it was specifically about your position on Neuralink, which was that you said as an absolute that Neuralink would not be able to work in the human brain because the human brain is far too complex and Neuralink is far too primitive where it is right now to ever fully integrate with the human brain in the way that it's being talked about, right? You made a reference to it being basically just an active MRI.
Okay, so I'll
Craig
just clarify
says,
my
RPT turned into science. Groyper report turned into science.
Bill
it did.
Bill Nye the Science Guy. But
show me a Wignat who can do that.
Yeah. Yeah. They're too busy trying to figure out how to make fire. They're banging rocks together, you know what I mean, in a cave with their leopard skin loincloths and stuff.
We got to make that. It's like me and you arguing over warp drives, and then it cuts over to Zeb. He's over by a fire.
He's trying to fish with his hands, noodling or something, you know.
Yeah, right. I guess my main theme has just been the same thing, which is just to say, Mach 4 was the fastest until it wasn't. Mach 5 was the fastest until it wasn't. Mach 6 was the fastest until it wasn't. And it's just in the element. Part of me is disagreeing with you that there could be a cap, that there could be some technology that ultimately just cannot be rendered
Okay.
any more efficient than what in its current form. We have found
So-
everything that would make it work. My
Okay,
only
so
point
my
back
my
is like, how can you say that if you don't know the start point and the end point?
okay, I agree, but here's my thing,
Okay.
and this is the whole point I've been trying to make
real
the entire
quiet
time.
since
So
Simon's
please,
given-
he's
That's good, Bill.
he's trying to figure out if space is even real. While we're talking about space, Zeb is hanging out at the ice wall. You know what I mean? Like he's like, these idiots, they don't even know it's all fake.
He's updating Hitler's Mech 2.0 that's sitting on the
Yeah.
Antarctic wall somewhere, guarding the gates of Agartha.
But here's my point is, so we both admit there's a scale, we both admit there's a cap.
Mm-hmm.
But like where we differ is you seem to argue that just because we haven't reached the cap, that having a debate on where we are within the cap, within the percentage, is meaningless.
I'm saying give me one heuristic, one metric, one measurement that can even begin to institute itself as any ounce of credibility or authority that we are at some
I would
point
argue-
anywhere.
Well, I would argue that if we reached 100% of the knowledge that is like acquirable to us, would we even know it?
That's another good argument. Because again, who's to
Exactly.
right. So my point being,
So my point being is you can't know when we're at the end.
Right.
So let's just talk about where we are. And my point is
Well-
like, so when I say, here's why I do not think the Neuralink will work,
Mhm.
the argument is, well, you don't know that because you don't know everything.
and your argument back is
Rather than
that there's
saying,
rules to the galaxy, so there must be an end somewhere. You're still arguing from the same
Yes.
position of an. We're arguing off the same position. My ask to you, which you still have not given me, is your
I'm all ears.
claim here. My claim is just that I don't know, and I think it's possible. Your
Mhm.
claim is assumptive that it's got to be soon, right? Because you keep mentioning late, like modern technology. You keep referencing cars and Neuralink as if like we are already at the close to the summation of. I'm just asking, what would be a sign, an indicator, anything
Okay.
that would show us that perhaps we are closer to the end of that progress bar than not? And I'm saying,
Okay.
I don't think that indicator
That's a great
exists.
question. That's actually a good question. Congrats, your first one. I'm kidding.
I've been asking it
sorry.
this entire
I-
time.
but so that's exactly my point. Is it's like we so what are indicators about where we are within the progress bar? I'd say you can't know with any certainty, or I would say you can't know with absolute certainty where you are in the progress bar. But I think when you isolate it to the purpose and the task, what the hell? What was that?
I just clicked on the link that Tick sent me. It's something, dude.
6'7",
It's a cowbell ringing.
Nice. So where was I? Damn it, Ticks. Okay. So
Yeah.
Neuralink, the purpose of Neuralink is to integrate with the brain like a USB integrates with a computer.
Mhm.
It's like it can connect your brain to the internet. So the assumption being that our brains essentially act like hardware and software, and that theoretically you can have machines integrate with it.
Yeah.
But if the structure of the brain prohibits outside tendrils, the current methodology is using microfibers and like these little things to it's basically a micro mesh. They tried to have it where these microfibers actually integrate with the neurons deep in the brain, but the problem was they would always destroy it. Even when they worked flawlessly, they would always destroy it. It would just kill the person. So what they ended up doing was using a micro mesh where it basically wraps around the top of the brain and then just monitors it like an MRI. It's no different than an MRI.
Mm-hmm.
So when it can do things like move a mouse across a screen because it scans your brain when you move it with your hand,
Mm-hmm.
recognizes the pattern, and then the Neuralink connects to the mouse directly like any other like Bluetooth device would.
Yeah.
And then once the Neuralink recognizes that pattern in your brain, it replicates it on the screen. So that's how it works.
Yeah.
So my point being, in order to do things like record and download memories, it would have to be more than just an MRI because MRIs can't do that.
Mhm.
It would have to isolate and break down into the brain. And from what is basically currently available to us, that can't happen. So my point being is I do not know with absolute certainty that there's not a more advanced solution.
Mhm.
But if this is where, but if the cap is that it's just not possible, that's what the evidence is pointing towards. So obviously they're still trying.
Right. And they always will.
Of course.
Because like what you had just referenced as well, I think the whole thing's actually rendered null with what you had said. Because if we don't know how much we don't know, also implies that we don't know, we would also not know if we actually knew everything.
Mhm.
And so because of that,
So
there would never be a disincentive to stop trying or expanding or innovating. But
sure.
again, the whole point of what I've been saying back to you is that argument you are making from the 100% mark on the progress bar.
No. Remember, I'm saying my argument is that, and I think you agreed with me that you can make inferences about, and again, it's not certain, but you can make inferences about where we are on the progress bar.
No, I disagree with that. I'm asking.
Oh, you do disagree?
Because I asked you, can you give me an indicator? What can give you any kind of authority or credibility that we are at any point anywhere on the progress bar? And I'm arguing that I don't think it even exists.
I think that's ridiculous.
Okay, so then what is the indicator?
Okay, well, it it has to do with the function. So, like I use the. Are people still watching? By the way, how many live views?
I have not even checked.
I don't know.
I do got to bounce out of here in a second, though.
Yeah, I got to get
exhausted.
going here too.
I think I've streamed.
I'm tired, but
8 hours today.
This is super. I'm actually having a really good time, by the way.
Me too. I want you to. You're gonna have to play this back. This is gonna be wonderful because you have not. You keep putting forward an argument, and then you can't give a reasoning for the premise of which your argument's built upon. And so I keep asking you for the premise, right? Which is what is giving you causation to make the argument that you find it more likely than not that there's no more advancements or little room for more advancements than where we are right now. And so the ask then has been, so I think then if you were to make that argument in the affirmative that we are closer to being done with progressing, then you would also need to be able to show me a clear thing that you could say with authority, well, no, if you look at this indicates that we are at the end point of human innovation. We are at the end point of human technological advancement. And I don't think that indicator exists because what would it be? What even differentiates from primitive technology and current modern day technology? How could you, where's the time scale? What's the heuristic? Anything, right? Even in the slightest indicator. But I don't even think it exists. And that's been my whole point, which is if we can both agree that we don't know what we don't know, and if what we don't know is we don't know where we are in the human progression element, and you have no way of telling where we are on that, then I think for me, my position is that I think you taking I think it's more likely to take a greater than 0% chance. Right? That's kind of my position. I think there's a greater than 0% chance that Neuralink could advance itself more to what Elon is suggesting it could be capable of. You are suggesting that it is more likely there is a 0% chance that Neuralink can grow or be advanced beyond what that is. And so I'm saying, because you made that argument, I'm asking for the premise. Where's the indication, the measurement, the source of evidence that you have that forms the basis of you saying and claiming the 0% chance? Does that make sense?
Sure. So I'll say this. In the same way, because you argue that we can't make inference about where we are on the progress bar, so to speak.
Yeah.
I would agree in the sense that I disagree, and I think we can make inference about where we are, but that we can't know. So ultimately, it is futile. But my point being, I'll switch away from the neural, because like this is actually it delves into my philosophy of mind, which I've talked about this with Zeb, and he was like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" Because not because he didn't get it, but because it doesn't sound like normal Christianity. Because I'll try and make this quick, but there's basically three main views of like metaphysics and how consciousness works. So there's the physicalist view, which is atheist, which is, it's not, there is no such thing as a soul. It's just matter, and patterns in the brain generate our conscious experience. Then there's where most religious and even most Christian people fall, which is substance dualist, that there's the body and that there is the soul. These are two distinct substances that mesh together and create what we experience. It's kind of like Tom and Jerry. When they die, you see the ghost leave the body, you know what I mean? That kind of thing. Where I fall into is a view called metaphysical idealism, which is this idea that all is mind. So I actually believe that the physical world doesn't exist beyond experience. The physical world is not something external to us. It is all internal. It is all an internal simulation, but the continuity of it is maintained by God. So instead of us all just having our own independent hallucinated worlds, you are in Ohio experiencing this debate through a monitor, just as I am in South Carolina experiencing this debate through a monitor.
Yeah.
But all of those things, the space between us, it's not really real. So the Neuralink thing has to do with my view of that, which is a whole different topic that we'll get into hopefully in the future.
Yeah.
So to answer your actual question,
We're doing a poll.
I'll bring it to the no, it's not, Mr. Moss. You're retarded. It's not heresy.
He said it for me.
I know it does sound like Hinduism, which it kind of is, but I'm a Christian, so it just has to do with how everything works rather than who it works for.
Yeah, Josh had to move into metaphysics because he couldn't finish his argument here. We had to change.
So my point being is like my point being is we can make an inference about where we are on the progress bar of building the fastest car. I'm not talking about the fastest means of getting from point A to point B.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, planes are better than cars, but planes are much more difficult. They're less accessible. They're more expensive. You know what I mean? They require a lot more infrastructure and maintenance and whatnot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe one day we will I can just strap on this little watch, punch in a location, and then I just instantly teleport there. I'm not talking about the best way to get from point A to point B.
So you agree with me then?
Right. But there is a best way to build the fastest car. And I don't think we're there yet. They've actually found that the texture on a golf ball is more aerodynamic than a smooth surface. So you could theoretically create some sort of race car model where it has this golf ball-like texture on the exterior, reducing wind speed, making it more aerodynamic. And maybe one day you build this car that's so friggin' fast, it's outrunning planes. Who knows? You know what I mean? It's got rockets on it. It's crazy. It's not falling apart. It's awesome. I can't say that and it's the fastest we can ever get a car to go. It's the fastest anyone ever has gotten a car to go. It's going at like 600 miles an hour. No one thought it was possible, but we did it. I can't say with absolute certainty that that's the fastest a car can go. But I can say we're probably pretty close to the end of getting to the fastest car than the beginning.
I mean,
That's
yeah.
my
I mean,
point.
had you specifically radically shortened the inference scale about the car and of the car's lifespan, I would agree with you. And I think a very simple way that you could have done that is I think most things that are closer to its apex point of not being any further is in reality, you would look at the rate of advancement. You would look at how marginal each advancement was. And so with cars, if you were to look at each advancement was probably much more significant. Give me. But like had this, it's like the first couple of advancements of the vehicle where like they have like these massive chunks in the pie in terms of how much they added to the efficiency.
Yo.
And as you went through, right? And as you go through each advancement after that as a diminishing return on investment. And I think if you were to look at that and you were to compare the last few advancements and see if they're very minuscule and marginal in their advancement to the vehicle, I would say you probably are nearing the end of what you can get out of. You're nearing the end of what you can make efficient with that. But you didn't. You specified the entire world, the universe. Actually, we went beyond the world.
Well, listen, I was just using that as a illustration to convey my point, which it honestly is kind of sounding like we actually agree.
I don't know, to be honest. Actually, I just think I
So,
won the debate.
but my point being is when you define the poll says 50-50, by the way.
I see that, and you got pity votes, so I'm in the lead by a couple.
No. I whooped your ass.
If we don't count smelly balls, I'm in the lead.
The only reason there's any doubt is because I ramble and because I hurt a couple of the Christian sensibilities by being right about metaphysical idealism.
No. I think you literally you did push heresy. Like, I mean, let's just be real.
So,
I think what you
okay,
pushed was
damn
like,
it.
was heretical.
I do got to get going.
Same.
I'm really enjoying this though. We need to like clip just this segment and put it on NAB DMC. But
Smelly voted for me.
If you can give me the cliff notes, maybe we can continue this on a non-Groyper report thing later.
Yeah. We can collab later this week on stream.
I'm down. Why is it heretical? If you give me a cliff note.
I mean, it's quite simple. I mean, Nick, what you were claiming was that there was not that God did not create an objective singular creation. You argued that every person's physical experience like was the creation, right? Or like that creation's an internal experience.
Yeah.
Like reality is defined by, and I don't think the reality is defined by what humans experience. I think reality was built and created by God, and irrespective of a human's experience with them.
No. I'm not saying that human experience creates reality. I'm saying God creates reality, but that, like, for example, like, I don't think that the universe is a simulation that God's running, and he could, like, if God was just like, all right, peace out, I'm committing a deicide, I'm just not going to exist anymore, then the universe could continue to exist on its own. I think God is reality itself. And
God is logos.
God is logos.
Which implies he could change it at any time, which you mentioned with miracles.
Yes, absolutely.
So at any point in time, God could just decide, we're going to advance the car. You know what?
So
and I'm going to have Josh do it. Josh, like, place your right hand on your Volkswagen right now. A voice said from the sky as Josh touched his vehicle, and it became a horse.
God said, Josh, don't be a faggot. I mean, don't be a silly person, and get the most cost efficient car, the Honda Accord 2019, where it kind of looks like a Mustang.
No,
and
he didn't. He said, stop lying about your Accord. You actually drive a Subaru.
Real quick, the point being is, like, I do think God created the universe, but I just don't think the universe exists separate from all of those that experience it. That would be God, us, angels, animals, demons. The
I think you got
physical
one shot
reality.
by a National Geographic article.
I don't get the joke.
Okay. This just shows where we are right now.
I don't get it.
This is the point. I think this is actually the point, right? You see what I'm saying?
I still don't get it.
This
No,
is
I
my point.
don't. What does Nat Geo have to do with this?
That you got one-shotted by some random ramblings of a madman at the back half of a National Geographic issue 31, perhaps. And here you are. Anyways, any final words, Josh?
Listen, I'm down to continue this discussion sometime. Well, I better sit up. Sometime later this upcoming week. If the thoughts are too big for your little minds, hey, I can't help you there. But I've enjoyed the conversation, Atlas.
Everybody stop listening.
dethrone you from winning every debate. It was always going to be me. Let's be honest.
It's no, I just I find it funny, and I think we should actually. It'd be great to do this with the moderator as well. I think the moderator is going to be stopping you every like 5 seconds. But there you go. This is your guys' extended edition of the Groyper Report. This is what we had to offer you in place of call-ins, and matter of factly, I'm somehow here much later than what I thought I would be. Oh, did you? There you go. Well, that's why we're going to pick it up, and we're going to do the... Yeah, that's fair. I'll take it. It's, let me,
I love you, Atlas.
That's funny. We should definitely do this in a formal debate setting, actually. And I think that we should see how it plays out. But yeah, no, like I said, pity votes, we get it. Knock a few of those away. We'll see the result. But no, we appreciate you guys for being here. Appreciate everybody who all stuck around and listened to everything here. As well, make sure you go follow all the other creators as well. That's also Zeb, John Ward, and Foulball Productions, as well as Tom Foe. Make sure you go and follow all of those other guys as well. Don't follow Josh. I don't think anybody needs to be doing that. No. We appreciate you guys. Christ is King, as always. I'm exhausted. I have to get out of here. You guys have a good rest of your night. I might stream on Kick tomorrow. I don't know. It's up in the air right now. But I'll tag people if I do. Josh, you got anything coming up?
I'll try and release that video I mentioned that I recorded maybe on Monday. I'll see. I got to finish editing it. But no promises, but it'll be on my channel if it's up at all. Word.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, we'll more than likely definitely see you guys on Monday, and a chance I'll see you guys tomorrow. But besides that, peace out. Christ is King. Stop eating, you fat heathens. Till next time.
Where do you stand politically? Give us your political ideology.
Okay, I can say anything I want.
Yeah, bro. Say where yeah.
I don't know, the day-to-day stuff, I'm like, yeah, more bullshit. Another white girl got stabbed to death? Of course she did. What do you expect? For my politics, I just watch America First with Nick Fuentes.
Okay.
I consider myself a Groyper. Sometimes I just wait to hear Nick's take to make sure I have the right take before I make videos, So, yeah, I just go with what Nick says. I just defer all my political opinions to Nick Fuentes at this point. I'm America First. I wish that we had white Christian men running the country. It's unbelievable to me that we have a government that has a policy other than America First. How does that make any sense? We pay taxes, use our taxes to benefit the country that we live in.